nobody on this platform speaks Arabic to be able
Okay,
to translate
listen.
what you're saying. And you're basically saying that it says something that it doesn't.
No. I'm not saying it says something that it doesn't. What I just dropped right here came from a person who reads Arabic. And Alda Fideli, I can post her entire article where she's going to show you textual variants in the Quran. She's going to say this was changed, this was changed. Sometimes she's going to show you all sorts of variants, hundreds and hundreds of variants in the Quran. Now, I just posted a side-by-side of those same verses. Please check the chat. One of them, they're both English translations of the text. And one of them says, whether you die or are martyred, all of you will be gathered before Allah. The other one, whether you die or are martyred, all of you will not be gathered before Allah. So they both don't mean the same thing. This is not a difference in tribe. There's an actual, it's called an orthographic variant. Orthographic variant means that there's a difference in what is written. That's what the graphic part is. What's written here is actually different. There's hundreds of these. Just comparing the Warsh and the Hafs, there's hundreds of these that exist between just those two. So that's a fact. I can post the entire 500 some odd page. It starts like page 146. The scholar, the scholar there notes all the different types of variants. There's even photographs of them. I can show next. I'll show you the Sanaa manuscript, the Sanaa palimpsest. There's a bunch of these I can show you. There's going to be all sorts of differences. I can show you differences in word order. I can even show you ones that have different numbers of chapters and verses. I can show you this from Sahih Islamic accounts as with the writing of the Quran, the transmission of the Quran, where the Quran was sent out, and the people who were supposed to memorize it forgot verses, and they admit that they forgot verses and had to come back and add verses back in later after they'd already sent out a bunch of other ones. I can show you the 1927 Royal Cairo edition of the Quran, which took one of these readings and didn't take the other one. Even though the one that says will not be gathered is the older reading. So again, I just posted an English translation of the two. Please explain them.
So what I posted in the chat is the English translations
of which one? Of which one? Because most of you Muslims are going to use the Hafs. What's the English translation of the Warsh translation? That's what I'm asking you.
I don't know any Muslims that go by the Warsh translation.
Most Muslims prior to the late 19th century went by the Warsh translation. So my question is what's because remember, it's supposed to be perfectly preserved, supposed to be no variance in there, perfectly preserved. So my question is what is the English translation of the Warsh text of 3:158? What is it? Tell me what it is. Please Google it. Translation of the Warsh text of Surah 3:158.
I don't have that. What I have is going to be the English translation of the correct Quran.
No. You're calling it the correct Quran, but the companion of Muhammad in the 8th century, who was called a companion, and the early readers, the early commentators from the early Tasfir, says that it's going to be the Warsh reading and not the Hafs reading. That's the fact. Earlier Muslims said that the text that you have today is not the correct one. So before you declare it the correct text, outside of it just being the reading that you like, the reading that you prefer, give me a reason for thinking that the earlier Warsh text is not the correct text.
I got a little cold. Hey, y'all, mute up, y'all.
Mute up.
So, are you familiar with the Quran burnings that happened during the time of Uthman?
Multiple, yes. Just the same thing happened with during the 1927 Royal Cairo edition. After they produced the standardized text, they threw multiple texts in the Nile River to get rid of them. And part of the reason why I'm talking about the destruction under Uthman, this is what I'm talking about Al-Bukhari and Al-Kindi's witness saying that there were these other variant readings that existed that they got rid of. But I'm asking you a question about the Warsh and the Hafs, and I need you not to change the subject. What is the English translation of the Warsh text, which is earlier than the Hafs text? Warsh came before the Hafs. So before you got the reading that you have now, which most Muslims are going to use the Hafs reading, what is the English translation of the Hafs text? I gave it to you. I posted in the chat, but please feel free to Google it. Look up an English translation of Surah 3:158 from the Warsh text and watch it tell you that it says that they will not be gathered. And you tell me which one of these readings Muhammad uttered.
It's going to be the text that I posted in the chat already.
No. Well, before you say that, watch this. If that's going to be the one, then why is the older text, the Warsh text, why is that one wrong? It came before the Hafs text.
See, now to be real, I'm going to be real with you. I'm not familiar with the Warsh text because the Warsh text is not talked about in Islam
Well, I know, because post 1927, the major reading that people went with, following the Royal Cairo edition, was going to be the Hofs text. It's the major source text for the Hofs text that modern Muslims. But again, here's the problem.
Okay,
I asked you about the perfect. No. You should be familiar.
If we're all,
you should be familiar.
All in agreement. Hold on.
No. You're not all in agreement. You're not all in agreement.
Hold on. We in Islam are all in agreement on what text we use. And the same cannot be said for you.
You mean post 19? No. Stop.
You get what I'm saying?
No. First of all, this is not a question about the Bible. No, we don't need. Listen. If the Bible was made up of crayons and color pencils, that would not change anything I'm asking you about the question of the Quran. So we don't need to do that. Here's the question I'm asking you. Prior to the late 19th century.
We in Islam are
in the late 19th century. No, you're not. No, you're not. I literally just told you. Someone called a companion of Muhammad preferred the Warsh text of the Quran. That's a fact. You can read the early Tafsir of the Warsh text, and they're going to tell you that the reading that says will not be gathered is the authentic reading that came from the mouth of the Prophet. Prior to the late 19th century, the Muslims are reading the Warsh text more than they were now. In 1927, the Royal Cairo edition of the Quran came out, and they took and burned and they took and threw alternate readings into the Nile River. Prior to that, though, various other texts of the Quran existed. They came together in 1927 to put together the Royal Cairo edition of the Quran because of the fact that all of these variants existed and because it was causing disputes. It's not the one and only time that the Muslims have burned and got rid of other variant readings that existed in other Muslim provinces and even among the same provinces where other variants existed. So the idea that the Quran is imperfectly preserved is bunk, but because of the simple fact that y'all are getting rid of other readings. But again, what is the English translation? I'm going to keep asking this. What is the English translation of the Warsh text? Surah 3:158. I've already provided. Anyone who's interested, I've already posted it in the back chat. There's already a scholar. There's already a PhD in scholar. Alda Fideli, who's written an entire textual variance in the Quran. All the ALDA Fideli, Fideli, who's already written over a 500-page treatise on this, showing pictures of variants in the Quran, comparing specifically like the Warsh and the Hafs text. So my question to you, Brother Jesse, what is the English translation of Surah 3:158? What is it?
All right, give me a second.
Take your time.
Hey, Leandre. This is why I don't like you.
Yeah. So I looked
at this debate up, DMG. Start making a flyer.
Google. I looked it up on Google, and all I have found is, and whether you die or slain, you will surely be gathered to Allah.
And so it tells you that it's the Warsh text.
This is the Warsh text.
No. I listen. I'll bet you every dollar and every vehicle I own, it's not the Warsh text.
Now, brother, are you gonna let me respond?
Can you post it so we can see? I want them to see that you lying.
Okay, I'm about to post it right now.
Bet it ain't the Warsh text.
All right, I'm about to post it right now, and I'm about to post.
Yep.
I'm about to post it. Give me a second, because you're done. Really, it's and
you don't even read Arabic.
And I'm about to slap you over the head right now because
good.
First of all, you tried to bring up a different variation in the Quran when there's none. And
there is. You can literally see the picture of the variant. What are you talking? What are you lying about?
And you have major problems within your own scripture. While you're trying to point the
finger. Listen, we're not talking about the Bible. We're talking, listen, every time you talk to Muslims about the Quran, they want to talk to you about the Bible. We were never talking about the Bible. I'm going to ask you a question about Islam.
You're redirecting the conversation, brother.
Listen, every time you ask a Muslim about the question, we're talking about the Bible. Listen, for the sake of the argument, the Bible, listen.
Just concede for it.
Yeah, I think
just concede.
You should tap out.
Concede, bro.
Then when I post this in the chat, go ahead and read that for me.
Kind of a way of conceding.
Come on, yo. Come on.
I think.
Go ahead and read that.
If I can, I want to say I think the brother.
This is an AI chat response. It's not what I'm asking.
Because Leandre kind of hit him out of the blue. I think they should.
No, this ain't out the blue. He was asking for this yesterday.
Hey,
this has been going on since last night. This has been going on since last night.
I don't think he came on here tonight expecting to have this back and forth. I think they should set it up either on my channel.
No, we're here now. And I'm about to slap this brother down, like for real, for real.
Hey, y'all see what I just tried to do.
The brother came on the text talking about he likes to embarrass
Now the
brothers,
reaper about
and
to
he's
reap.
about to be the one who's getting embarrassed. So with that being said, will someone read what I posted?
We watching the same
Respectfully, you didn't give him what he asked for, so I'm not reading nothing. I'm gonna just be quiet. I'm gonna mute up. I'm just saying
you're biased because I did give him what he asked
for.
for. He asked for chapter
he read his own
3,
sources.
158 from the worst context.
You listen.
And-
you gave
and
an
I
AI
posted that,
chatbot response.
and I
You're not
posted
giving
that
English
in the
translation of
chat.
the worst
Now
Dude.
none of you Christian brothers want to read it.
because you're not dropping it. You dropped an AI chatbot response.
It's in the
No,
chat.
no. Hold on, y'all. Hold on, brother. You can read it yourself.
Okay, I'm gonna read it for myself since none of you Christians.
So I'm reading myself. You're not giving
don't
it.
do that. Don't do that because he
Since
dropped
none of you
actual
Christians
text.
can
You
stand
never
up
dropped
on
the text
claim
though.
that you made. This is a claim that you made. You claimed that there was a variation. I want to hear the Christian who made the claim read what I have found on Google.
Nah, bro. Listen. He read it. He read his own sources. You can read yours. Y'all continue.
Okay. It says there is no substantial differences between the meaning of Quran 3:158 between common hafs and wash recitation, but there are minor variations in pronunciation. The core message of the verses is the same. All people will be gathered before Allah, regardless of how they die. Recitation and meaning of Quran 3:158, the full verse, which appears in Surah Al-Imran, the family of Imran, as follows. It says it in Arabic, and then it says it in English translation. And whether you die or you're slain, you will surely be gathered to Allah. So with that being said, I don't know what the hell the brother's talking about when he's talking about variation, because I don't see it. And I just Googled it like the brother asked me to, and Google agrees with me. So now let me slap this brother on top of his head.
Let me know when I can respond.
All right, but before you respond, I'll go ahead and respond.
So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to post a link and I'm going to post a photograph. I'm going to post a link and I'm going to post a photograph for all the Fidelity study, and where she's going to discuss the difference here, and that talking about this being a pronunciation is sheer utter bullshit. You don't read Arabic, and so if you're saying that and you're dependent on the Chat GPT thing, which or the whatever
Google.
Google is using Gemini. Listen, you're using Gemini AI stuff, right?
Okay.
I'm going to post for you a scholar who has written a paper. And hang on, let me see. The paper is called.
And what's the scholar's name?
Alda Fideli. I've said it 75 times.
A non-Muslim.
The paper. No. I'm sorry. What?
A non-Muslim scholar.
One, you don't know what Alda. Now, every Muslim that I've mentioned this to, none of you knows what Alda Fideli's religion is, and then you go for that thing right there. It's called the poisoning the well fallacy. It's not a logical response. Whether she's a Muslim, an atheist, or a damn Wiccan, whether she's the colorful religion of the Wiccans, if she's a witch and she sacrifices cats to Molech, it's irrelevant. What you need to point out is that there's some error in her methodology. So the name of her paper is called hang on, it refreshed on me. It's called the Early Quranic Manuscripts, their text, the Alphonse Mangana papers held in something. Anyway, but I'm going to post a link to it, and then you can just type in. If you can go there, you can type in Surah 3:158. She's going to show you difference. She's going to show you textual variants, and it starts at like page 146, and she lists the various types of textual variants that exist. Surah 3:158, and oh, by the way, like you can scroll through it, starting like 146 and on, and she'll show you side-by-side photographs of differences in the text of the Quran. This one is not a difference in dialect or pronunciation by region. This is called an orthographic variant. It means exactly difference in what is written there. So telling me that there's difference of pronunciation or how they pronounce it a certain place, that is an idiot's response who doesn't know Arabic, and who's not reading any scholars
Brother,
on
Google
textual
just said that.
I'm gonna listen. Google is not a PhD in the area. Google is compiling things that people have said online, including web forums of people who are just like you on there talking, and they don't know what they're talking about. You can look at photographs of the textual variants there. We're actually looking at a missing aleph that's there, and the missing aleph and the differences there in the vowel point. No, not grammar. I just told you that there's a vowel that's there, and there's a differences, and if there's differences, one there's an aleph that's there, and in the diagrammatical markers that are there are also different, and so you end up with a different word. One of them says will not be gathered. The other one says will be gathered.
I disagree.
Well, listen, you can disagree all you want to, but I'm going to ask you again. Do you know
my proof?
If your proof is Gemini AI, then you are in bad. You're in bad space, because I just gave you someone who's an expert in Arabic telling you that there's a difference in what the word means. So no. Let me ask you.
Claims to be in Islam claims to be an expert in
No. One, you just said she's not a Muslim. You said she's not a Muslim, so you don't know what she is.
I'm just saying.
Muslims cite this lady all the time. Muslims cite this lady all the time.
Okay, I'm gonna let you finish.
Now, because she's at the University of Birmingham, where they have various different Birmingham manuscripts and texts of the Quran, where they can show you differences between them. This entire paper is nothing but a catalog of the differences between Qurans, and again, they're not differences in pronunciation. Again, you can just scroll to like page 146, I believe it is, and it discusses with you the different variants that exist in the Quran. Telling that the Quran has been perfectly preserved goes in opposition to every single published paper of the Quran that is in existence today from an actual academic. Everyone is going to say that there's textual variants in the Quran, every single one, including the one that I just dropped. So I'm asking, for the sake of us and our people, please give us something more than Gemini AI responses. I just gave you a PhD whose entire area of study is studying the early Quranic manuscripts. Do you have anything other than Gemini AI saying what you're saying? Anything?
Yeah.
Where? What you got?
My Islam.
Okay. So outside of having to depend on your faith, do you have anything else?
Before that, I posted multiple translations in English, none of them of which said
you didn't post the worst Quran at all. You didn't post the worst. Every one of those that you're drawing from is going to be from the Hafs. I literally gave you a translation from a scholar in Arabic.
I just posted, and whether it's AI or not, the AI said that there is no differences within meaning, and they all are in agreement on meaning. You have one person who claims to be a scholar who says not, and you're going to follow that one person when all of us in Islam.
It's not one. Well, all of you in Islam, you don't even read Arabic. Who cares what your opinion is? Who cares? You don't read Arabic. You don't read Arabic.
English translations, and
if you're reading English translation of the Hafs, that's nothing.
English translation that's going to say not.
If again, if you don't read Arabic, and I'm showing you two different versions in Arabic, and you're telling me, you're saying, oh, well, I read English. I don't care whether you read English. I'm talking to you. You have a standardized text came after the 1927 Royal Cairo edition of the Quran. Now, let me ask you a question. Is there a such thing as a 1927 Royal Cairo edition of the Quran?
I'm not familiar with it, but there might
Google it. Google it. Is there a such thing as a 1927 Royal Cairo edition of the Quran? If so, answer yes. And if that's the case, then tell me why there was a commission that came about in the 1920s in order to come about with a Royal Cairo edition. And after you tell me why they came about that, tell me what happened to the variant readings of the Quran after 1927. Answer those three questions. One, is there such thing? Two, if there is, why? And then three, if it came about for whatever reason, what do they do with the other readings? Answer those three questions.
So let me just go ahead.
Just Google and please answer. No, just Google and answer.
Hold on.
Just Google and answer.
See, I'm not. Look, brother. You gonna have to let me respond the way I'm going to respond. You know what I'm saying? I turned around and asked you to read what I posted in the comments. You refused. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, I'm going to respond the way that I'm going to respond, and my response is, we only have one Quran. All the Qurans line up 100% in meaning. There is no variation beyond.
That is false. Listen. You say that, but you're dismissing Surah 3:158. You keep saying that, but I'm literally showing you 3:158.
I just posted in the chat that 158
you can't post
and the
you cannot post
have,
Gemini AI. You can't. Gemini AI is AI. Give me a scholarly source. How about this? Click the little link at the end of your AI description, and then I want you to click on an actual scholar of Arabic that says that 158 and the warts and hafs don't mean a difference in words. Post an actual scholar of Arabic language, not just a Muslim who cares about things. Post me someone who has a degree in a relevant field that says these two things mean the same thing, and it's just a difference in pronunciation and region. Do that for me. And then when you're done with that, please answer my question. Is there a 1927 Royal Cairo edition? If there is, why did that come about? And then what happened with the versions that differed from the readings before 1927? Please answer that.
Is there a what?
1927 Royal Cairo edition of the Quran.
1927
Royal Cairo edition of the Quran. Cairo, like Egypt, C-I-R-O.
Cairo
edition of the Quran.
So wait, Jesse never heard of that?
No.
Okay.
While no specific 1927 Royal Cairo edition of the Quran is documented, your query likely refers to the extremely influential, widely disseminated 1924 Cairo.
Oh, it's 1924? Edition. Okay, 1924. Cool. 1924. Is there a 1924 Royal Cairo edition of the Quran?
This is the edition that sometimes is referred to the Royal Edition or the King Fuad Quran. The 1927 edition of the
Let's say 1924. I might have had that one. 1924.
Text may exist as later printings with minor corrections were common, but the
what do you mean minor corrections? What does that mean? Wait, what does that mean? What does it mean if there were corrections? What does that mean? Can you explore that for me? What corrections were done to the Quran? What were they correcting? Let's look that up. Google it. What would they be correcting about a perfectly preserved Quran? I wonder. Let's look up. What were they correcting in the Royal Cairo edition of the Quran? What would they be correcting in that? I wonder.
That was bad.
I wonder what came up. Like what was happening to where they said we need a Royal Cairo edition of the Quran. And after we figure out when this exists, we want to know what they were correcting, which is what we're on right now. After that, what happened to the other readings that existed? Then we're going to find out, was the Royal Cairo edition longer than certain other versions of the Quran that existed in different regions? Because if it's longer in chapters and verses, you know what that means? That means the Quran has not been perfectly preserved. But let's see where we land. What happened in the Royal Cairo edition of the Quran? What were they correcting? I wonder, Jesse. Don't start reading out loud now, brother. I'm blind. I got to hear the audio. I got astigmatism, but I can't be looking at the screen and stuff. I got to get them little funny blue light glasses and stuff. So please tell me what you're reading.
I haven't found it yet.
Well, what's on your screen right now?
I'm looking it up right now.
Okay. Should I Google it too and read it out loud to you? Would you accept a Google response? I do have a couple books on the Quran I can read to you as well, but you let me know.
It says the 1924 Royal Cairo edition of the Quran was not a new version correcting the words of the Quran, but rather a standardization of its printed text, correcting inconsistencies in previous printed versions. The edition was based on
stop.
One of the most common authoritative recitations known as Hafs and.
Wait, Jesse, didn't I tell you?
Tradition.
Wait, didn't I tell you that the Muslims are going to use the common recitation that came about in the late 19th century with the Hafs Quran? And what it was doing, it was providing a standardized text, correcting discrepancies that existed between other versions. Like we have the Warsh and we have the Hafs Quran. And so in the late 19th century, like late 19th century, meaning the 1800s, right? Late 1800s, the Hafs became the most used version of the Quran. Prior to it wasn't the case. Even prior to that, the Warsh was the most common reading prior to the 19th century. And so what you mean to tell me is that there's a reading, and so the 1927 Royal Cairo edition followed the Hafs version of the Quran. But let me ask you, what differences existed between other? Can we ask Google that? What differences existed between the Hafs version of the Quran and other versions of the Quran that existed prior to? Can we look that up? What happens if we Google that?
What differences?
Yeah, what differences existed between different versions of the Quran, like the Warsh and the Hafs, and I don't know, and other readings of the Quran, other recitations. What other ones existed?
Okay, and I'm gonna do that. And then in the same sense, I would like you to look up the difference between the your King James version of the Bible and the
I know
Bible,
all of those. Yeah,
the apocryphal text.
Yeah. Well, one, the King James version of the Quran, I can answer that easily because the King James version of the text is going to include the Apocrypha, so there's no difference between those two.
No.
The 1611 King James version
one with 66 books, and
the King James version of the King James version of the text includes the Apocrypha, and includes the Apocrypha completely. Yes, it does. You can Google it right now. Anyone on the call can Google it. The 1611 version of the King James, which is when the King James version came out, 1611 King James version includes the Apocrypha. It's why Hebrew Israelites use that faithfully and they love the Apocrypha. The 1611 King James version of the Bible includes the Apocrypha. There's no lie in that. That is a fact.
And is that the Bible that you follow?
No, I do not. But like I said, the problem is that the King James version of the text includes the Apocrypha for a reason. I don't use the King James version of the Bible because it is like a 400-year-old version of English, and there's literally no point in me reading it. There's all sorts of words in there that are moot, that don't have any, like the word "wat," W-O-T, has no meaning in English right now. And so there's all sorts of words in there that exist in there like that. I don't have any meaning in it. It's an older version of English that came about in the early 17th century in England. It is just an authorized version of the Quran. The Apocrypha included in the King James version of the Quran for a completely different reason than what you might be thinking. Early Christians thought that it was useful for history. They did not think that it was scripture. You don't know that, but that's a fact. The earliest church, when they had the Apocrypha included, weren't calling it scripture. They said it was useful for other reasons. So I don't mind reading any of this stuff, but I don't follow that as a canonical text. Now, I've answered that. Now please answer my question.
This non-canon.
No. Wait. I've answered your question. I've answered your question. Can you please answer mine?
Okay. My answer to your question is
I've answered your question, even though I don't have to. Can you please answer mine?
The Royal 1924, the 1924 Royal Cairo edition of the Quran is a standardized printed text based on the Hafs and recitation, which was compiled from secondary literature rather than directly from early manuscripts. The key differences from the early manuscripts include the incorporation of punctuation, a standard surah order.
Wait, stop. Before you continue, I want you to listen to that. You have added punctuation. Two, there's a surah, there's an order to the surah. So the chapters, remember we talked about this before. There's a standardization of chapters. Different versions of the Quran through history have had different chapters and a different number of chapters and a different number of verses and a different number of words. That's a fact. You're reading it right now. There's a standardization that happened in the 1924, I thought it was 27, 1924 Royal Cairo edition of the Quran. That happened. You just read it. Now continue. What are the other differences?
The addition of Bismillah, the specific spelling.
Wait. Stop. Listen. Bismillah was added to your text of the Quran. So it means if you read Bismillah in the text, guess what that means? It was not original. Bismillah was added. I'm also going to tell you something that I know you don't know, that I don't know if Google is going that the Google results are going to tell you. The version of the Quran that you read today in your text, we know that it's not the way that Muhammad would have spoken or the way that the earliest companions would have ever written it down, because it's in a completely different dialect, and we know this because of the definite articles that exist in the version that you have today. It's from a couple hundred miles away from Mecca and Medina, hundreds of miles away from Mecca and Medina, and that's because we have rock inscriptions, and we know what the dialect of the Prophet Muhammad was, and we don't have the dialect of the Prophet Muhammad recorded in any text of the Quran, but we have punctuation has changed. We have differences in the order of the surahs. We also have the addition of Bismillah. And what else do we have? What other differences are there that exist? Could you tell us?
A specific spelling and division into juz, part for recitation, not presented in all ancient texts. This edition was produced to address the inconsistencies in earlier prints and to provide a consistent text and teachings.
Good. Now, like I said, there are all sorts of differences that the 1924 Royal Cairo edition came to smooth over. But one of the other ones that the AI thing missed is that you have texts of the Quran that exists with different numbers of surah, like the Sanaa Palimpsest manuscript has a different ordering of the surahs and a different number of verses. That's a fact. And a different number of surahs. That's a fact. It even has things it even has verses that are in a different order. Even the verses themselves are in a different word order in its entirety than the one that you have right now in your present text today. That's a fact. I can show you photographs of it. I can show you photographs of the differences. You pull up the Sanaa manuscript right now, and you can compare certain surahs, and you're going to see, as a matter of fact, I have a whole diagram here with arrows and things like that, where they're in a different order, the words in a different order. That's a fact. So if let's just take the differences that Google gave you, or let's exclude all the other ones that are factual. Let's take all those and let me ask you, with the differences that were just listed by Google, has the Quran been perfectly preserved?
Yes.
Are you all because if you all are adding words, if you're changing this the order of the surahs, if you're adding if you're adding punctuation, if you're adding punctuation, if you're adding words like Bismillah, if you're changing the word order, right, and if you're correcting inconsistencies in different manuscripts, that's perfectly preserved to you?
Yeah, because
now
we only have one universal Quran.
No. You don't only have one universal Quran because I'm literally showing you. Listen, you're saying that, but again, I'm telling you, I'm showing you.
So look,
the difference between the Warsh and the Hafs Quran.
I'm posting in my proof in the back chat, and it says, no, there isn't a universally recognized Quran with a different order than the standard.
No, wait. Wait. What do you mean by universally recognized? Listen to the question. Has the Quran been perfectly preserved, or are there different versions that exist? That's the question. No. What you're reading is not an answer to the question that I asked you. If the Quran has been perfectly preserved, there should be no differences that exist anywhere. There should be no Muslim empire or region or group of people. The Sanaa Palimpsest should not exist, but it does. So the problem is that I'm not asking if it's universally recognized today.
Universally recognized Quran.
Listen, you have the Warsh text is now which text, which version of the text is older, the Warsh or the Hafs?
The Warsh. I just already proved to you that the Warsh text does not deviate from meaning.
It does. Listen. You didn't prove that to you didn't prove that to me. You posted a Gemini. Listen, I asked you a very simple question.
I've been looking up all these things.
Post me. And I asked you a very specific question. Post me any expert in Arabic who says that the reading of Surah 3:158 from the Warsh and the Hafs is the same. Tell me anyone that says one does not say will be gathered, and the other one says will not be gathered. Show me. I have not found that. Listen, but that's what I'm asking you. If you're telling me there's no difference in meaning, you need to find that, because I'm telling you.
I found it in Google, and you didn't think it was good enough for you.
No, because Google is not anything. I just post you all the Fideli, and you can go down there, and she's going to show you different types of variants. There's photographs of the differences in what's written, and then she says these are not differences in dialect. She has a whole section for differences in dialect and pronunciation for different regions. That's not what these are. You're saying that that's what these are, but she lists various different types of variants of the Quran. You're telling me that they all boil down to differences in pronunciation, but that's not what she says. She says the exact opposite. So give me something from a scholar of Arabic who says, no. These mean the same exact thing. Both of them say will be gathered. And I'm telling you, there's Tasfir on the Warsh text that compares the Warsh and the Hafs text and says these mean different things. And it actually says that the proper reading says will not be gathered. There's actual Tasfir from early Muslim authorities that say the reading is actually will not be gathered. And it goes against what you're saying. You don't read Arabic and they do, and they said that the proper reading is actually will not be gathered.
Brother, I just Googled it.
Please give me what I asked. Listen, find me a scholar, click the little link on Gemini.
Look,
and then see what scholar of Arabic. Bro, can you just click the link and show everybody? Can you click links to everybody? You don't read Arabic. And Gemini is AI. It's literally, it's just compiling sentences. The AI is not actually intelligent. Artificial intelligence is not actually intelligent. I'm asking you for something specific. I gave you scholarship to support my contention. Can you please give me scholarship to support yours?
Now look,
I want something more Islamic faith.
When you had me Google all these different things, the whole time I was using Google AI. Now you didn't have no problem when we were talking about the
because all of those positions are actually backed by scholarship for books that I can open and show you right this second.
And what
now,
I'm telling
when
you
that
is
one,
in the same sense, when something doesn't go your way, you got a problem with it.
Listen again. The
Warsh. Your one scholar does not.
I don't. Listen. Believe me. I have way more. I have way more than one scholar on this topic. I have way more than one scholar on this topic
of Islam.
Listen, I have way more than one scholar, but this has nothing to do with Islam. It has to do with Arabic, and I want to know if the word means the same thing. There's the Warsh, there's the Kalun, there's the Al-Duri, there's the Khalaf, there's the Haf, there's the Ibn Ayyash, there's the Ibn Wardan, there's the Ibn Jamaz, there's the Ruwais, there's the Ruwah, there's the Ishaq, there's the Idris al-Haddad, there's the al-Bazi, there's the Kunbul, there's the al-Shuri, there's the al-Hisham, there's the Ibn Dakwan, there's the Khalad. All of these are different transmitters of the Quran. And guess what? There are thousands and tens of thousands of variants between even these readings that exist today. There's over 27 variant readings of the Quran that you can get today. 27 different versions of the Quran that you can open right now today. If the Quran has been perfectly preserved with no changes, there should not be 27 different. And again, there's only between 7 and 12 different dialects that existed around Arabia, according to the Islamic narratives. There are over 27 different readings of the Quran that I can give you right now. I just listed for you like 14 of them. I literally named like 14 of them. If the Quran has been perfectly preserved, then why are there so many different transmitters? This is not even introducing the reader. This is just the transmitter. Why are there so many different readings of the Quran that I can give you right now if the Quran has been perfectly preserved? Please tell me why.
Please tell you why what?
As a matter of fact, I just listed over 20.
I just posted in the chat, and I'm
brother, you're not answering my question. You're not answering my question.
This is going to answer your question. It says, no, there isn't a universally recognized Quran with a different order than the standard Uthmanic Codex, because the existing order is divinely inspired, established by the Prophet Muhammad.
Oh my goodness!
Said as Palimpus, an early manuscript does have a different order in the lower text and variation. Its wording suggests a different form, different from the standard Uthmanic Codex version. So
yeah, the problem is that when if we have an 8th century Warsh, 8th century Hafs, neither one of those two versions of the text are from Uthman. They're from the 8th century. They're not from the 6th and not from the 7th. They're from the 8th century. Neither one of those are going to be an Uthmanic reading, buddy. Uthman was a companion of Muhammad. In the 8th century, none of those people existed anymore. Okay? So Uthman's text is literally not present. We don't have an Uthmanic Codex. There is no Uthmanic Codex that exists. It does not exist, period. So when you're talking about an Uthmanic reading and you're giving me the Gemini AI thing, which the way that the Gemini thing works is it scans the internet for forums, websites, all this kind of stuff, and then it chews out an answer based on what is gleaned from the internet. That's not the same thing as scholarship, buddy. When I'm giving you something that shows you that there's a difference between Surah 3158 and the Warsh and the Hafs, you need something to counter back to that. You can't give me Gemini AI for that. Okay? And so you don't read Arabic. And I've asked you to pull something up that is an English translation of the Hafs. What I've given you is from scholars of Arabic that say that this is what Surah 3158 says in the Warsh. It says will not be gathered. I've told you that there's tasfir that exists that say that it means will not be gathered. And again, in the tasfir, they say, well, it's definitely not will be gathered, will all be gathered. It means will not all be gathered. So do you have anything like that you can provide for me?
No.
Okay, now let me ask you.
Not at this time.
In Ibn Masud's codex, how many surahs are in Ibn Masud? Well, first of all, how many surahs are in your, how many chapters are in your version of the Quran right now?
114.
And how many were in Ibn Masud's codex?
I'm not familiar with that codex.
We'll Google it.
What is it called? Spell it.
Ibn, M-A-S-U-D, Ibn Masud. M-A-S-U-D.
M-A-S-U-D.
Yeah, how many surahs are in Ibn Masud's codex?
Codex. Quran.
What we got? How many surahs?
$111.
Now, why are there a different number of surahs between Ibn Masud and the Uthmanic codex, which you believe you have, that I don't believe you have? Why are there 114 and 111?
The main difference was the omission of Surah Al-Fatiha, chapter 1, and the final two surahs Al-Falaq and Al-Nas, chapter 113 and 114.
Good. So Surah 1, Surah 113 and 114 are not present in that version of the text. So you already have a difference. If the Quran is perfectly preserved, there should be no difference. This one says that those complete surahs were missing. How many surahs were in Ibn Qayyim's codex?
So in Islam, we believe.
I want you to answer the question. How many surahs?
Let me explain this.
Listen. There's a different number of surahs. If the Quran is perfectly preserved, there should be no difference between the number of surahs that are there. Not the surahs themselves, including the ayat, are missing in its entirety. They're not present there. I can show you this. I can show you this in Al-Bukhari. I can show you this in Al-Kindi, where there are whole surahs different, and these are different surahs entirely that are different. I can take you over to the satanic verses from Surah 53 and show you that has undergone numerous changes from the first 200 years of Islam to the present text you have today. But we'll get to that later. But we just highlighted that there's a difference between the Uthmanic text that you have and an earlier Ibn Masud codex. Why are there 3 surahs missing from that version of the Quran from what you have today?
So the Codex of Ibn Masud is not recognized as the standard text of the Quran today. Instead,
I know it's not the standard text. You use the Hafs text of the Quran and the 1924 Royal Cairo edition, but that's not what I'm asking you.
From the Uthmanic text.
Good. And it's like I said, if the Quran has been perfectly preserved, there should be no difference here. This was a mainstream text that was used by various Muslims.
Let me explain something to you, brother.
Bro, you can't explain anything to me. You didn't know the answer to this prior to.
Let me.
Bro, there's nothing to explain. Muslim leaders, and Muslim imams have been on tape acknowledging the difference between these, and they say that they just will not talk about them publicly. Maybe what you need to do is just take their advice, because if there's 3 surahs missing by your own admission, then that means that there's all sorts of surahs that are not present in the Quran, short ones and very long ones. And you know how the Quran is organized right now. You've already acknowledged a difference in punctuation. You've acknowledged a difference in ordering of the surahs. That's already something that's a known fact. We've now acknowledged that there are differences between these texts, these versions of the Quran, where there's a different number of surahs, which you said at the beginning of the call, that they all have the same amount of surahs. I've now showed you that is false. There's other texts of the Quran that I can give you, other manuscripts that I can show you that have different numbers of surahs than even the 2 that we just listed so far. I can continue to do this. The result is going to be that the Quran has changed forms multiple times over time and in multiple regions. That is a fact. We have writings from early Islamic authorities telling us that they had different versions of the Quran. We know that early disputes came about among the Muslims because of the differences that they had, and not in pronunciation, but differences in numbers of surahs and numbers of chapters, differences in meaning, differences in pronunciation, all kinds of differences that existed in the earliest Muslim communities in the first 200 years. That's a fact. It's not in dispute. I can use only Islamic historical source. I can use only hadith and tafsir to tell us this, that there's differences between the surahs, the word orders, the chapters. I can go to Al-Bukhari, I can go to Al-Kindi, and I can read them to you right now live verbatim. And you can explain to me why they're saying, yeah, we actually forgot these surahs. And it's not the surahs that we're looking at right now. There's various surahs that were missing from earlier versions of the Quran.
So we are in Islam are not in disagreement that there were early versions that were off. But what we are saying, what we're today is Uthman was a historical figure that burned the Qurans that did not line up, and he created a universal Quran that we know today.
No, you don't. You don't know that version today. The Warsh and the Hafs that you use comes from the 8th century. What century did Uthman live?
But I've already pointed out that
what century did Uthman live? No, you haven't pointed out. No, you posted Gemini thing. You haven't pointed anything out. Listen, when did Uthman live? What year?
Why don't you inform me? Because you got me looking up everything.
Uthman is 6th and 7th century. He lived along the time of the Prophet Muhammad. He's a companion of Muhammad. He's not 8th century. 8th century is 2 centuries after Muhammad. When you have when you start getting things after the recitation, after it's been written down, this is long after. You're talking about a time when after the Quran had died in battle with Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. And Zayd bin Thabit talks about when he wrote down for the first time, when he wrote down a standardized text of the Quran, he talks about what they did afterward. When they put together, according to Zayd ibn Thabit, there were variants that existed. And Zayd ibn Thabit says, he says, Abu Bakr then said to me, Umar has come to me and said, casualties were heavy among the Quran. And again, these are people who knew the Quran by heart. On the day of the casualties at the Battle of Yamam. And I'm afraid that more heavy casualties may take place among the Qur'an on other battlefields, whereby a large part of the Quran may be lost. He says, therefore, I suggest to you, Abu Bakr, order that the Quran be collected. I said to Umar, how can you do something which Allah's apostle did not do? Umar said, by Allah, that is a good project. Umar kept on urging me to accept his proposal till Allah opened my chest for it, and I began to realize the good idea of which Umar had realized. So I started to look for the Quran and collecting it from what was written on palm stalks, thin white stones, and also from the men who had knew it by heart. Till I last verse of Surat al-Taba with Abi Khuzaym al-Ansari, and I did not find with anybody other than him. They did so, and when they had written many copies, Uthman returned the original manuscript to Hafsa, right? This is the wife of Muhammad and the daughter of one of Muhammad's companions. Uthman sent to every Muslim province one copy of what had been copied in order that all other Quranic materials, whether written or fragmentary manuscripts or whole copies, be burnt. And Zayd bin Thabit added, a verse from Surat Ahzab was missed by me when we copied the Quran, and I used to hear Allah's apostle reciting it. So we searched for it and found it with Khuzaym bin Thabit al-Ansari. That verse was, among the believers are men who have been true in their covenant with Allah. And so what do we get there? This is a completely different surah than the ones that exist, the difference between the what you call an Uthmanic Codex and Ibn Masud's Codex. And so there's a completely different surah and ayat that's missing from this text after they've already copied and sent it around Arabia. Apparently they copied this and sent this in multiple dialects around Arabia. And then after they did so, they realized that there was a whole ayat missing from the text, according to Islamic Sahih accounts. So this is different than the surahs that we're talking about missing between the Uthmanic text, which you believe you have, and Ibn Masud's Codex. You have a whole different ayat that's missing. And so before we get to Al-Kindi, should I trust Al-Bukhari's witness on the fact that there's a whole ayat missing from the text that was copied by Zayd bin Thabit? Should I trust this account?
Yes.
Okay, so it's true then that when they copied the text under Uthman, that of all of the companions of Muhammad and of all the memorizers and reciters, they still weren't able to memorize the Quran fully because they forgot an ayat and didn't realize until after they'd already dispersed other versions of the Quran.
Incorrect.
Let me read it again, and you tell me where I got it incorrect. Therefore, I suggest to you, Order that the Quran be collected. I said to Umar, how can you do something which Allah's apostle did not do? Umar said, by Allah, that is a good project. Umar kept on urging me to accept this proposal till Allah opened my chest for it, and I began to realize the good idea of which Umar had realized. So I started looking for the Quran and collecting it from what was written on palm stalks, thin white stones, and also from the men who knew it by heart, till I found the last verse of Surat at-Tawbah with Abi Khuzaim al-Ansari, and I did not find it with anybody other than him. They did so. And when they had written many copies, Uthman returned the original manuscripts to Hafsa. Uthman sent to every Muslim province one copy of what they had copied in order that all other Quranic materials, whether written or fragmentary manuscripts or whole copies, be burnt. Zayd bin Thabit added, a verse from Surat Azab was missed by me when we copied the Quran, and I used to hear Allah's apostle reciting it. So we searched for it and found it with Khuzam bin Thabit al-Ansari. That verse was, among the believers are men who have been true in their covenant with Allah. And that's Surah 33:23. So did they copy the Quran and send it out all over Arabia to different tribes? And then after they sent it out, did they remember that they missed a verse?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so you mean to tell me that what happened is there were versions of the Quran that were sent out and sent across Arabia by the companions and memorized when they didn't realize they missed a verse, and they so that means they sent out an imperfect version of the Quran that was not perfect, that was not copied perfectly. Is that correct?
No.
Okay. Did we not just read that they sent out copies and after that they realized they missed a verse?
Okay, and then what does it say after that?
After that, what it tells us is that then they realized that they missed a verse, and then they added that verse to other copies that they made, and that's from Al-Bukhari. So we can go to Al-Kindi.
It says that they corrected it.
No. They didn't correct anything because they had already sent out other copies.
And then
they turn what you have is from perfect memorized. Yes, and then they created more copies. And they created more copies and then sent those copies out. So you know what that means? We have two versions of the Quran. If we just think of it as this one verse, this is before we introduce Ibn Masud's missing surahs. We don't know if Ibn Masud's surahs were in there. Because Ibn Masud has 3 missing surahs. 3. But they have a missing ayat. Then you have Al-Kindi. Al-Kindi says the result was that in the Caliphate of Uthman, it was discovered that there was no consent as to the true text. One man then read one version of the Quran, his neighbor another, and differed. One man said to his neighbor, my text is better than yours, while his neighbor defended his own. So additions and losses came about and falsification of the text. Ubay, the son of Kaib, was dead. And this is Kaib has a whole different version of the Quran. Kaib has, Ubay ibn Kaib has 116 surahs, and this is a problem. He has more surahs than the Uthmanic Codex. But let's keep reading. Ubay, the son of Kaib, was dead before it was made, while Ibn Masud refused to give up his copy of the Quran, so they drove him from his post in Kufa and appointed Abu Musa as governor of his place. When the revision had been completed, according to the various manuscripts, 4 copies were made in large text, one of which was sent to Mecca, a second remained in Medina, a third was sent to Syria, and is today in Malaysia. Next, Uthman gave directions that the leaves and sheets of the Quran should be gathered in from the provinces. He ordered his agents to collect all that they could lay their hands on and destroy them until they could be certain that not a sheet remained in the possession of any private individual. Heavy penalties were threatened against the disobedient. All the leaves they could secure were shredded and boiled in vinegar till they were sodden. Nothing remained, not even the smallest fragment that could be deciphered. You know what happened between Ali, Abu Bakr, Umar and Uthman, how they hated each other and quarreled and corrupted the text. How each one tried to oppose his neighbor and refute what he had said. Pray, how are we to know which is the true text? How should we distinguish it from the false one? So you have multiple companions of Muhammad telling you not to trust other companions of Muhammad and their version of the text. You couldn't trust their recitation or their text. That's a fact. Ubay ibn Kaib has 116 surahs. So you have the Uthmanic text, as you call it, 114. Ibn Masud's text, which has 111 surahs. And Ubay ibn Kaib, that has 116 surahs. Which one? Now, these are all companions of Muhammad. Which one of these people has the perfectly preserved text? Which one do you think?
The Uthmanic text.
Now, so that means then that guess what? The Quran has not been perfectly preserved. All of those readings still exist today. All of them.
Brother,
All
you
of
are
them.
reading. I want you to recognize this, brother. You are literally reading the hadith that is the explanation of the Quranic burnings. This is nothing new. This is something that we are in Islam are pretty much all familiar with. We're not saying
We don't need to filibustering, bro. Bro, listen.
hold on, brother. Hold
are
on.
there different numbers of
let me say
surahs
something.
between these? There's different numbers of surahs.
Because
Different numbers of ayat.
You really just killed your whole argument.
Okay.
Let me explain. We in Islam already knew about this historic situation with Uthman and the fact that there were multiple versions of the Quran prior. We're familiar with the burning, and these are beautiful. These are beautiful hadiths that you have read, because this is a factual historical events that happened. And
are you going to say anything other than bro? There's a different number of surah and ayat between all these versions.
This is a
Explain
part
it.
of our religion. You get what I'm
Yes,
saying?
it is. It's part of your religion. Please answer the question though, because you're filibustering. I'm on a time limit. Listen.
Hold on. Now,
Explain
brother,
the different numbers of surahs and ayat between these verses.
Brother, you have plenty of time to talk, and when it's your time to talk, I'll let you go on for hours.
I'm on a time limit, bro. I got a bet going on. Please explain the different numbers of surahs and ayat. No, you're not understanding. Explain the different numbers of surah and ayat between these versions.
Brother,
explain the differences between the number of surah and ayat. Listen, then all you have to do right now is explain the differences between the number of surah and ayat between at least 3 companions of Muhammad.
Brother,
there have been at least 3 companions of Muhammad.
None of them matter, because only
if you're missing surah 1, surah 113, surah 114, that doesn't matter.
Hold on, brother. You literally just read a historical event with Uthman and how they went and tracked down the Qurans that didn't line up and got rid of them.
Wait. Are you admitting that there's been Qurans in history that have been burned because they didn't line up with the text you have today?
Yes.
Now watch this. Now let me ask you.
This is a part of our Arabic. This is a part of the Quranic history.
So just so I understand. Just wait. Let me ask you something.
Point is,
are you admitting that a part of your Arabic history, you have had texts of the Quran that have not been perfectly preserved and you just got rid of them?
Yes. And we
know.
And
now, are there 27 versions?
Hold on, brother.
Are there 27 readings of the Quran that exist today?
No.
Are there at least 27? Bro.
No.
Bro, why are you lying?
Because
I literally listen. I've literally listed like 15 off the top.
Brother, let me answer, okay? Because you have been talking this whole entire time, and then the minute I get to talking, you're
off topic. That's why, because you're off topic.
No, I'm not off topic.
Then why are there different numbers of surahs? If in Ibn Masud's codex, there's 3 missing surahs, why?
Brother, I know it hurts to take an L. But
bro, nobody on the call thinks I've taken an L. You've admitted everything I told you that you were going to admit in the beginning.
Is showing you taking an L.
Bro, everything I told you were going to admit. You've conceded to every point. You've conceded to every point. Every point I've made, you've conceded to. There are different numbers of surahs and different numbers of ayat. You've admitted that there have been differences in Qurans that different Muslims had in different regions and different times. You've admitted that the text you got goes back to the 8th century, not the 6th with Uthman. You don't have any of that. You've already admitted that. You've admitted that Zayd ibn Thabit forgot verses after he copied versions of the Quran and sent them out. You've already admitted every point that I've told you.
If the hadiths say that, we believe it wholeheartedly. We're not.
No, you don't.
I am in no disagreement with the hadiths that you have brought forth. I believe in my Quran, and I believe in my hadiths. But what I'm trying to explain to you is that what you have brought forth is nothing new. We know this in Islam.
If anything I said is true, if anything I said is true, you do. If anything I said is true, by definition, you don't have a perfectly preserved Quran that came from the mouth of Muhammad.
Because what you're failing to realize is
you don't, because you can't explain Surah 3:158. You don't know why there's 3 missing surahs from Ibn Masud's codex. You don't know why there's 2 additional ones from what you're calling Uthmanic codex in Ibn Qayyim's. You don't have any explanation for that. You don't have any explanation. From Ibn Masud's codex alone with 111 surahs,
you ain't letting me explain.
And Ibn Qayyim's surah, there's 5 additional surahs in that.
The reason why you remain ignorant in this stance is because you're not letting me explain to you the reason.
Can somebody tell me? Did
like
he, no, listen. If he answered my question, somebody let me know.
All this is going over your head.
No. Listen to my question. If he answers,
he thought this was
no, don't tell me I'll let him say it. Don't tell me I'll say it because y'all still supposed to be intelligent. If the brother is going to answer my question, no, and not talk about what you want to hear. I'm saying, just like when I was talking to the Nagadoos, I asked him a question and I haven't got an answer. I asked him to explain that he admitted that in Ibn Masud's codex, there's 3 missing surahs. They're missing entirely. There's 111 surahs, verse 114. And what he's calling the Uthmanic Codex was not Uthmanic, but let's say it's Uthmanic. If there's 114 surahs, that means all the verses, surah meaning chapter, if there's 114 chapters in what he's calling right now Uthman text, but we know that Ibn Masud's text in a different region, different time with different Muslims, that they had 111. And we know that Ibn Qaib had 116. If the Quran has been perfectly preserved, he needs to explain this. This is what I've asked repeatedly. How there's a different numbers of chapters and verses in at least 3 texts if the Quran has been perfectly preserved? That's what I'm asking him, and he's not answering. So when he answers that, please let me know. Cool. Now, if he doesn't answer, you're gonna let him know he didn't answer it? No, I'm asking you. Are you gonna let him know? Okay, good. Go ahead. I'm gonna be quiet. I'm gonna mute.
And can I please talk without being interrupted the way I let you speak? Okay, so it's really simple. Can y'all hear me? Hold on. Okay, all right. So it's really simple. We in Islam, we believe in the Quran and we believe in the Hadiths. So the Hadiths that the brother has read is talking about how during the time of Uthman, there was multiple versions of the Quran, and it was Uthman and the companions of the Prophet Muhammad who compiled the Quran and made a universal translation. And we in Islam believe in the actions that the Prophet, the companions, and Uthman did were righteous actions. So with that being said, of course this is historical fact that there was different versions, but we have faith that we only have one Uthmanic codex that has survived today, and anything beyond that is not it. So I mean, it's very simple. It's not like where in the Bible y'all are still arguing on which. As far as why it was different. So what I'm trying to say is, we in Islam believe in the actions of the Prophet Muhammad, the companions of the Prophet, and Uthman. So during the time of Uthman, there were different variations of the Quran, and a part of our Islamic history is the companions of the Prophet. So the people who were around the Prophet and Uthman worked together to make a universal Quran. So what I'm basically saying is, anything beyond this universal Quran doesn't really matter, because it's been made universal, and they burned pretty much everything else. And we in our religion, yeah, because we only have one universal Quran, and the time that they took stuff out was during this time of Uthman, and Uthman addressed these matters, and this is in our hadiths. You get what I'm saying? So we're saying that Uthman, the man who burned the Qurans that didn't line up, addressed this matter, and we all today in Islam follow that one text that has been left behind by Uthman. So all the other versions outside of that don't matter. What I'm telling you is, what I'm telling you is, so what I'm trying to explain is in Islam, this situation with Uthman is like it's our history. You get what I'm saying? It's the history of how the Quran was preserved. But what I'm trying to explain to you is, yeah, what I'm saying
Listen.
is this the hadith that the brother has brought up is the history on how
Honey, you're supposed to be telling something right now. Honey, you're supposed to be saying something right now. Did I get an answer to my goddamn question? No. Wait. If I'm right, listen. And honey, this is my question for you.
What I'm trying to explain to you is,
can I ask Honey a question? Honey, no, Honey, don't do that to me tonight. Don't do that to me tonight. Honey, don't do that to me tonight. Listen, Honey, listen. Here's my question. With what he explained, and I want everybody to listen. Did he just tell us? Did he provide to us that the Quran's been perfectly preserved with no changes in the text? We got exactly what we got from Muhammad. Did he answer that?
What I'm trying to explain to you,
I'm asking Honey a question.
Today,
I'm at Honey. Please, Honey, come on, Honey, don't do this to me tonight. Okay, wait. Now, Honey. Now, I remember the first question I asked him when we got on this thing was, "Has the Quran been perfectly preserved?" He said yes. Remember that?
yeah.
Now, Honey, do me a favor. Honey, do me a favor, because he's not going to answer me. I want you to ask him. According to things like Bukhari, Muslim,
brother, but this is what you're
Tirmidhi.
failing to realize.
Wait, I'm asking Honey a question, bro. Don't be rude.
And I like
I'm asking Honey a question.
When it's my time to speak.
According to Sahih Hadith, did other companions of Muhammad tell us, like for example, Ibn Masud? Did Ibn Masud tell us not to trust Uthman's text? Now, Ibn Masud is the one who has 100. He has 111 surahs, not 114. He has 3 missing surahs. Ask him, did Ibn Masud tell us that Uthman's text is unreliable? Yes or no? Please ask him that.
I'm not familiar with the hadith that the brother's talking about, where Ibn Masud said something like that.
Okay,
I'm not familiar with that hadith.
Okay. So now, Honey, let me ask you a question. Yeah. So it's all of this. I'm answering you. So he says, "O people of Iraq." So it's Ibn Abi Dawood. It says, "O people of Iraq, keep the mushafs that you have and conceal them. For verily, Uthman has dismissed me from copying the Quran and appointed a man, Zayd bin Thabit, who we read about earlier, in charge of it. By Allah, I learned 70 surahs from the mouth of the Prophet while Zayd was but a youth playing with children." Ibn Masud tells us not to trust Uthman's text. And Ibn Masud is likewise a companion of Muhammad. So again, my question to him is, did the companions of Muhammad, the people who heard him recite, did they beef and tell us not to trust the other companions' text? That's my question to him. It's a yes or no question. If he doesn't know, he can say he doesn't know. But if he say he doesn't know, then we have a problem. But did the companions of Muhammad? Well, no. I'm asking a different question. He just said he wasn't familiar with that hadith. My question is, because he said that there was a beef going back and forth between the texts. I'm asking, did the companions of Muhammad specifically, the people who walked with and knew Muhammad, did they tell us not to trust each other's accounts in text of the Quran? Yes or no?
Once again, can you please repeat the hadith that you declared without adding nothing to it? Do not add your own.
O people of Iraq, keep the mushaf that you have and conceal them. For verily, Uthman has dismissed me from copying the Quran and has appointed a man, Zayd, in charge of it. By Allah, I learned 70 surahs from the mouth of the Prophet, and Zayd was but a youth playing with the children. It's Kitab al-Mashaf, in the version that I have, is page 12.
And nowhere in that verse Does it say anything about not trusting Uthman's
It tells you, well, again, the text is actually telling you, remember,
have drawn your own conclusion.
I have not drawn anything. You're not even letting me answer. Listen, remember, we just read from Al-Bukhari and Al-Kindi that Uthman was collecting texts and saying to burn them. Ibn Masud says to keep your texts, don't turn them in. It's not just me saying it. Ibn Masud says, don't turn in your text, to keep your mushafs, to keep your readings, to keep them, keep your texts. Don't give them to Uthman. Ibn Masud says he had 70 surahs, 70 chapters that he heard from the Prophet. Not 113, not 114, not 111, not 116. He had 70 surahs from the mouth of the Prophet. Ibn Masud tells us specifically not to turn in our readings. We're not to turn in our readings to be burned by Uthman. He says Uthman won't allow him to go with his readings. Ibn Masud tells us that he had 70 surahs from the Prophet Muhammad. Not the amount we have, not 114. In according to what you're calling Uthman's text, he has 70. Who's brushing their goddamn teeth? Now listen, let's talk about this because we got to talk about this. Okay.
Can you post this hadith in the chat?
Yeah, not a problem. Yeah, not a problem. Can you answer my question? Oh yeah, go what you got. Go ahead. Listen.
That's me.
Okay, we gotta talk about this stuff.
Your boy got to brush his teeth. All right.
Listen, bro. Listen, I'll tell you what, bro. Listen, I'd be willing to take less offense to you this whole time if you could give Neo X the same lessons that you're giving right now. I don't know if you met Brother Neo, but if you could talk to him about brushing his teeth.
DeAndre, stop it, man. Stop.
All right. Okay. All right. DMG, are you making a flyer?
Are y'all debating?
Yes, he said yes to that. I'm not going to give any different information than I'm giving right now. And remember, listen.
Are y'all going to do it on the hoe?
We're going to do it on the hoe. What you say? What you talking about? Who you calling that?
I said, are y'all going to do it on the Bar Honey channel?
We're doing it on your channel. Can you set it up? Can you make a flyer?
Why you can't do it on the Bar?
We can do it on the Bar. We can do it wherever. I just figured you need the views. You know what I'm saying?
We can both stream it, but we trying to get some debates over there too.
Oh, you trying to kiss up after what you did with I know what's going on. That's fine.
No, I'm not. I'm not trying to kiss up. But if I was, I say it.
Now listen. Now, honey.
Listen. I'm trying to get on Tiffany good side because it seems like you getting more favor with it.
Okay. Listen. Be that. Listen. That's fine. But listen. So let me ask you a question. Did you not read? So there's a beef between two companions of Ibn Masud and Uthman over the text of the Quran. And this was over Ibn Masud telling you not to trust Uthman's text. So Uthman's followers, Muslims, so they're both trying to give canonical versions, and they're both saying, don't trust his text. And Uthman is burning all the other texts. Uthman clearly doesn't trust the other readings. He said, burn all the other ones, and let's go with this one. Ibn Masud says, no, don't turn in your text of the Quran. So wait a second. We had texts that existed from whatever the followers of Ibn Masud, they were like, when I turn in our Qurans. So we have different numbers of surahs that existed. So let me ask you a question, honey. If that's true, that Ibn Masud, and he had followers who apparently he was writing to and listening to, if they had their version of the Quran and Uthman had his text of the Quran, do you think, does that fit the definition of a perfectly preserved Quran if there's two different versions of the Quran that are out there? I'm asking you as a reasonable, smart, intelligent lady. I want your real answer. Yep, I want your real answer. Nope, give me a real answer. Now, listen, Well, one, we have a problem. Two, a couple of problems. One, it's well. Listen. Well, one, I asked if the Quran's been perfectly preserved, not whether his text, not whether his text is favorite. I'm asking if the Quran. No. If no, one of them has not, because remember, he has vowels in his. He just read out loud that he has punctuation. He has different ordering of the surahs. He has a standardization that took place after 1924. He's admitted to all sorts of differences. He also does not have one that goes back to Uthman. His Hafs text comes about in the 8th century. His doesn't go back to Uthman. He has no basis for saying that. It does not go back to Uthman. It's not been perfectly preserved. It's also not in the dialect of Muhammad. You can listen. If you Google it right now, listen. If you look up the definite article that's used in the version of the Quran, like even in the Hafs text of the Quran, remember what I asked him in the beginning. I asked this. This is important. Do you have what you have today? Does it go back to what came out of the Prophet Muhammad's mouth? He said yes. That's false. Even like he admitted that Bismillah and things like that that's been added, and then that's small, but that's still a difference. If Bismillah is in his version of the text, and that was added later, guess what that doesn't go back to? The Prophet Muhammad, because it was added later. Okay, so he doesn't have a perfectly preserved Quran. Okay, on that front alone, by his own admission, from what he read from Google, he does not have a perfectly preserved text of the Quran, because they added things like Bismillah. They changed the order of the surahs. Okay, that's a fact. If he doesn't have anything that goes back to Uthman, which he doesn't, his goes back to the Hafs. Hafs is 8th century, and Hafs comes after the Warsh text of the Quran. It's not perfectly preserved. He has a text of the Quran that popped up in late 8th century, the very end of the 8th century, going into the 9th century. That's when the Hafs version of the text comes around. That's not 6th century with Prophet Muhammad. That's late 8th century. So, again, nothing that he presented is a perfectly preserved Quran, and that's without needing to talk about Surah 3:158. That's without needing to talk about this non-manuscript or palimpsest or anything like that. We don't have to talk about any of that kind of stuff. We don't have to look at any other things. But if what you have right here has definite articles that the Prophet Muhammad would have never stated, Prophet Muhammad would have never used any of the definite articles that they're using today, because they come from hundreds of miles away from Mecca and Medina. Nobody in Mecca and Medina wrote that way. Nobody wrote using definite articles. Nobody uses the vowel pointings. They weren't using those. Nobody's using Bismillah. The surah order is going to be different. None of the stuff goes back to Uthman. You don't have a perfectly preserved Quran. It's just impossible to have. If his reading goes back to 1924, it ain't gonna happen. Why he ain't talking? Nah, you need to tell him that. Say it again. He didn't hear you.
Because we only have one universal Quran today, and it's it's the same. It's the same one from back in the time of Uthman.
See,
you know, when you said,
Honey, don't let him say that shit.
Hold on, hey, look here, brother. I let you speak. You get what I'm saying? Now,
Honey, don't let him lie.
I let this brother speak for like 10 minutes.
No, don't let him lie. We ain't got to agree. Don't let the nigga lie.
I let this brother speak for 10 minutes.
All right, I'm because
10 minutes straight. You know what I'm saying? Just straight up BS, and I let it go. The minute I open my mouth, he has something to say. So the whole point that I like to make is, when you asked Honey, was the Quran preserved by the standard, and Honey said, if I believe in the Quran, something along the lines of, if I believe in the Quran of Uthman, that it is what it is. So with that being said, we in Islam are familiar with our history of how the Quran became what it is today, and we have faith that what we have is the perfectly preserved version of the Quran. So the hadiths, the Quran and the hadiths The Quran is the word of God, and the hadiths are the stories surrounding the prophet and how the Quran came about. We in Islam have no argument against the Quran nor the hadiths. This is our Islamic history. So when the brother read the hadiths, I was already familiar with it. I know the story of Uthman and him burning the other Qurans that were outside of his Quran. And what I'm trying to explain to the brother is that because of this history, we have faith in Uthman's Quran. We believe that this is a part of the preservation. So we believe in one standard Quran. When we talk about verses, no matter what Quran you pick up, they're all going to line up. There's no difference. You know, if you have an English translation, your English translation is going to line up with the Arabic translation, and there's no difference in meaning. So we all are in agreement that the Quran that we have today has been perfectly preserved, and yes, and it was since the time of Uthman.
Honey,
Since the time of Uthman. Since the time of Uthman is where we believe our preservation of the Quran comes. And we believe that we only have one version today. So I mean, like all our Qurans have 114 chapters. This is the version is standard across Islam. There like we in Islam are not arguing with each other on what is the correct Quran. The only people who make this type of argument are non-believers. You know, non-believers want to focus on the Qurans that didn't make the cut. You know what I'm saying? Because this is a standing point for them.
wait. Do me a favor. Listen, I'm gonna ask
Uthman
you a
burned
question.
them.
Listen.
Uthman decided we extend.
Honey, I want you to ask two questions.
Think like this: the hadiths.
Honey, ask him two questions
are a
because
part
you
of
ain't
our
gonna ask mine.
religion. You know
Honey, I
what
want
I'm
you to ask
saying?
him.
The
Honey, because you gotta
are a
ask
part
him
of
two
our
questions.
religion, and the hadiths tell us that the standardized version is Uthman's version. So everything beyond that, we believe in the Quran, we believe in the hadiths, and we follow what has been standardized. We have faith in the hadith and the Quran. So you know what I'm saying? Like the hadiths tell us the history. No, because that's not it's irrelevant because it's been declared irrelevant by the hadiths. You know what I'm saying? And the hadiths are a part of our religion.
So can you ask him two questions? Okay, listen, here's the issue. Does the Hafs version, does that go back to Uthman? And if so, please ask him to prove it. What century is the Hafs version from? And when did Uthman's text come about? And I want him to draw a bridge between the Hafs version and Uthman's text. Please ask him to do so because it's what I've been asking over and over and over again. Yeah, and because we need to draw a bridge between three things: the Hafs version of the text, Uthman's text, and the 1924 Raw Cairo edition, which is different from both of those. He's arguing that even those things have remained the same. You're good, son. He's arguing even those things have remained the same, and I want him to prove it. Can you please ask him to do so? Please do so, Jesse.
So in Islam, we believe that there are different.
I don't give a goddamn what you believe. Show me.
Different dialects. There's different dialects on how.
I don't give a goddamn what you believe. Show me. Show me that they're all the same thing.
I'm just going to answer the
text,
question, all right?
The Hafs text, and the 1924 Royal Cairo edition. Show me that those three things are the same, please.
This is my explanation. So my explanation is we have different. And I've already posted this in the chat. You get what I'm saying? I googled it. I posted in the chat. There is no difference between the Haas version versus the Warsh version. It's just a difference in dialect and punctuation, so grammar. But as far as meaning, they all are the same in meaning. They're all the same in chapters, and they're all the same in they're the same. It's just different dialects. So I mean, like, there is no difference. Like if
why would there be differences in why would the Hafs and Uthman's text be different dialects? Why?
Because there's different people speak Arabic in a different.
Where's the Hafs from? What region is the Hafs from?
Brother, you can Google that and find
I'm asking you the question. If you're telling me that they're the same, I'm asking you a question.
What I'm explaining to you is there's different dialects of the Quran because there's different tribes, there's different locations on where people are speaking, and the Quran is a recitation. So we recite the Quran and we memorize it in that way. And when you have a brother from a different country, you know what I'm saying? We're still speaking the same language. There may just be different, like a very small difference in how a certain word may be pronounced, but it does not change the meaning. The meanings are still the same, and regardless, they're all the same.
Okay, so here's my question. In Uthmanic, when we look at the Kufic and other related styles, are there diacritical dots in Uthman's text or no? Would there have been diacritical marks in Uthman's text, yes or no?
I'd have to look that up. I'm not.
Okay,
I'm not familiar with that.
So let me just tell you, these are the sorts of things that before you say that there's no difference, you actually need to know, because if you have to look it up, the answer shouldn't be possible. If there's going to be differences here, there shouldn't be. If it's the same exact thing. Look at the 1924 Royal Cairo edition. Look at the Hafs. And you look at what Uthman's would have been, especially if he's a companion of Muhammad from Mecca. They're not even in the same dialect. They're not even the same dialect. I just told you that one.
Told you that.
No. Here's the problem. If what you're telling me is that what we have today is what came from the mouth of the Prophet Muhammad, that means that the way he uttered like things like his definite article, they will be there. Means that consonantal skeleton, what's actually written, that will be there. It means there wouldn't be any difference in diacritical marks, but it's not just diacritical marks. It's not the same. For Royal Cairo edition, it's going to be different than the Hafs because they're standardizing a text and making it modern. So it's not the same. It's not the same thing. But there's also other issues with orthographic variants that I've already explained to you. There's orthographic variants that exist in the text of the Quran, differences between what you get in the Hafs text and the Royal Cairo edition. There's additional verses in the Hafs than in the Royal Cairo edition. It's largely based on the Hafs text, but it's not identical. So when you tell me it's perfectly preserved, you either don't know what you're talking about, or you're giving us like doctrinal stuff and you haven't looked at the data, right? Or you're a liar. Those are the only two options. Because listen, you can't disagree because you're telling me you have to look this stuff up. Don't disagree until you've looked at the information.
But I know for a fact that there's no.
You don't know for a fact anything.
There's no Quran that has more verses than the other. They all line
I
up
literally just gave you Ibn Masud's Code. I gave you the Sanaa palimpsest. These are ones you can look up.
That's not universal. That's not recognized.
Let's listen. You're saying a different thing. No. It's not. The Sanaa palimpsest is not a non-recognized text. The Ibn Masud's Codex is not a non-recognized text. Okay? Ibn Taib's text is not a non-recognized text. What you have is what's called controlled transmission, where if people found the text they didn't like, they said, hey, let's as Muslims agree moving forward that we're not going to use that text as much as anymore. That's not the same thing as saying it's not a recognized text. We do recognize it now. The Warsh text was more widely used than the Hafs text, especially because of the fact that when you look at the 8th century, before the late 8th century, there was no Hafs text that existed. The Warsh text pre-existed that, and then prior to that would have been an Uthmanic text.
Okay? And I've already addressed.
No.
I've already addressed that the Warsh text and the other text don't have no variation.
No, that's your claim. No, they're not the exact same. I mean, and I've literally already listen, stop just repeating that. You have nothing other than Gemini AI. No, listen, it is going to change if you actually read the goddamn 548-page study that I dropped, because it tells you the differences in meaning in those with photographic difference of those, and they're not differences in dialect. I literally already told you that Aldo Fedeli breaks down the different types of variants that exist in the different manuscripts of the Quran, and they're not just differences in dialect. There's all sorts of differences there. But this has nothing to do with even a palimpsest. A palimpsest literally means stuff that's been scraped off. I can show you where versions of the Quran, they have actual papyri that's glued on top of other ones, where we can use red light to show that there was a different reading underneath it. This is not an issue. When we read al-Bukhari's witness and al-Kindi's witness, they're telling us that different versions exist. When you read Ibn Masud versus Uthman, they're telling you that differences existed. That's not just differences in dialect. One of them is telling you not to trust the other person's version of the text entirely. Ibn Masud says there's 70 surahs. He says there's 70. In what you're calling Uthman, the text is 114. We know from Zayd ibn Thabit that they forgot ayat. We know from al-Kindi that they forgot they forgot entire surahs. So this is not just differences in pronunciation or dialect. You don't mispronounce and miss three chapters. That's not a thing. You're either not paying attention or you're an idiot, because those things that we've read out loud don't default to a difference in pronunciation. If Ibn Masud, in the manuscripts that we have from Ibn Masud's followers, have 111 surahs, but we have documentation from Ibn Masud in Sahih accounts that say that there were 70 surahs, we have a problem. If we have what you're calling Uthman's text has 114 surahs, that's a problem. If we have Ubay bin I forgot his damn name, but if you have 116 surahs, that's not a difference in pronunciation. And these were texts that were widely used in different regions of the text, in different regions of the Islamic world by various different groups. Today, if you have a standardized text, that just means that what they did in 1927, it was largely successful, because y'all started burning and getting rid of and agreeing that you're just going to use one text. But in history, historically speaking, various versions of the Quran existed, and we have Muslims arguing over whose text of the Quran to use. I literally read the hadith where they said that the Muslims are fighting over my text is superior to your text, and my text is superior to your text. That's a fact. That's a fact. Just because y'all burned enough copies today that y'all use one does not mean that you have the text of the Quran that other earlier Muslim followers would have had. It really is not perfectly preserved if you have to burn ones to get rid of them. Okay, so if y'all fell under Egypt and Egypt's like, hey, we're going to do this stuff where we have one text, that's not perfectly preserved, buddy. It is a denial of both the meaning of perfect and preserved. It's literally not, it doesn't fit either definition. You have a controlled text where you're burning copies that you don't like. If a companion of Muhammad is commenting and saying that the text of Surah 3:158 says that they will not all be gathered, you know what that means? That they clearly didn't have the reading you have today. So if you're not reading the version that the companions are reading, how is it perfectly preserved? If two companions are arguing over whose version is better, there's a problem there. Which companion of Muhammad are you going to go with? If you're just going to pick the one that didn't exist until the late 8th century, until like 798 or something like that, when the Hafs text came around, what were the Muslims reading before that? We know they're reading the Warsh text. We have commentary of them commenting on saying why the Muslims would not all be gathered. That's that. Well, if it's perfectly preserved from the 10th century, then that means that, remember, what I asked him in the beginning is, does he have what came from the mouth of the Prophet Muhammad? And if the Muslim, yeah, no, we didn't establish that. Listen, that's why I said y'all ain't holding him to this. He thinks that it's that.
So look,
he thinks that if what we get from everything we have about the Quran is that it's changed forms, changed number of surahs, that people forgot stuff, that people came later and said to the Prophet, and this is in multiple Sahih accounts. Hey, Prophet, we heard you recite 3 additional surahs. And he's like, oh, yeah. I did recite those surahs, but don't even worry about them. I took them out. Then you know what you don't have? You don't have what came from the Prophet.
So
no. Like I
I'm
said,
gonna respond to this
different
brother
numbers,
real quick.
different numbers of surahs, meaning chapters, different numbers of ayat verses. So you don't have the same number of words, verses, or chapters between just the three major accounts that I just gave from different Muslims in different regions. So there's no way to make it to where they all are saying the same thing. No way. They don't have the same thing. Again, and remember, from according to what we get from the Hadith, from Ibn Masud, from an earlier version of Ibn Masud, we only have 70 chapters. And Ibn Masud says, he doesn't just say, hey, his stuff is ordered different or worded differently. He says, don't trust his version. I only heard the Prophet recite 70 chapters.
So to be real, talking to this brother is getting real. It's
AI
real
stuff, this nigga
draining.
doing the silky stuff.
It's real draining because where I'm getting my information is the internet. So like,
oh my God.
What I am saying is really just the stuff that I posted in the back chat. You get what I'm saying? So I'm not just coming up with all this my responses on the top of my head. I'm literally doing the research and responding to the brother, and the brother's arguing with Google. You get what I'm saying? So
yes, I am.
So with that being said, I'm gonna just go ahead and just read these what I posted. The first thing is going to be a response to the Wash versus Hafs. I've already read this, but I'm gonna read it again because my answer is not going to change. I got my answer from Google, and this is it. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not making this up. This is not coming off my ass. I got it from Google, and if it's not good enough for him from Google,
It's not.
That's on him. But I mean, he's arguing with AI. He's arguing with Google at this
Yes,
point.
I am.
So I mean,
yes, I am.
And he doesn't have nothing better than his words. He's not going to pull nothing and post it in the back check like I have.
No, wait, honey, you're either gonna call that bullshit
so
or
with that being
I'm gonna
said,
send
I'm
you a
going to
bill.
read.
Honey,
I'm going to read my response. It says.
Mhm.
It
call
says
that bullshit or
is,
listen. Okay, I'm finna send your ass a bill. Watch
this
my.
brother
I'm
has
finna
been,
do you like I did Lil Steve.
Just talking. You know what I'm saying? From his opinions, and I'm
Mhm.
now let me give him the facts. It's
You gonna give us the facts? Is he giving us the facts still, or is he silent? What the hell are you doing over there, cuz? What's going on?
He moved. I think he called a recess.
But I don't respect. Honey, listen, honey.
Hey,
Honey,
Leandre,
yes, sir.
I'm about to inbox you this expense report. I need you to take a look at it for me and let me know if it's all right to submit.
Okay. Honey. Now, why you let him just say, I'm only giving you my opinion. He said he's giving me Google. And did you see me drop PhD Alda Fideli on there? On her entire 548-page paper. Now, tell him it's bullshit, or I'm sending you a bill. He said he was giving me Google, and I'm just giving my opinion. Either tell him it's bullshit, or I'm gonna send you a bill. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Now, for the rest of the bar that's on here, and y'all listen, y'all can go to hell because y'all sit here and listen to this nigga say this stuff.
What I got to do with this?
Everything. Listen. Tell that nigga he's full of shit. Tell him he's full of shit, or everybody getting the bill.
How I get in this?
Wait.
I fell out. Did y'all hear me?
Now
yeah, you goddamn fell out.
He been screaming.
honey. So what we supposed to say?
Listen. Y'all better say something. Y'all sat there, let the nigga do it. Y'all better say
All right, well,
something.
I'm gonna say this. I don't even think I don't even see the need for you guys to debate anything.
Why?
That's
Tell
what
me
I'm
why.
gonna say.
No, you better say why right now, or you
And
get the
I'm
bill.
because
Brother, you just need to take your L.
because you have been pulling out things that this brother is not even aware of, and he's agreeing that he's not aware of it, unless he's gonna go do the research and then come back and debate you. Then yeah, but other than
Nah,
that, I
see,
don't see the
you
reason.
finna get a bill. See, you finna get a bill because he said out of his mouth he's doing research and he was talking about Google and shit.
Oh, well, I wasn't on the wait. I wasn't on the call. I wasn't on the call the whole time. So I
No,
don't. I
you
came
finna get a
later.
bill because you lying. You heard Nick say he was
I'm
researching, he was
not
Googling.
lying.
I'm not about to do this with you.
hell?
I'm not doing this with you. Just what's your
The
address?
brother
What?
just need
Stop
to take
trying
his
to
L.
bully me, DeAndre. I don't do that.
Leandre needs to just take his L and be happy with it. You know what I'm saying?
Is anybody else? Now listen.
Right.
Was it perfectly preserved?
How about this?
No,
Was it
not
preserved
past
better
8th
than the
century.
Bible?
I want to know.
Was it preserved
No,
better
he
than the
didn't.
Bible?
No, he didn't.
That'll be
Ask
the
him.
debate.
No, listen.
Who has the
Ask
better
him if he
preservation?
conceded.
The Quran or
Ask
the
him if he
Bible?
ask him if he's saying that it goes back to, because remember what I asked him at first. Does this go back to what came out of the mouth of the Prophet Muhammad? That's what I asked him. He said yes.
Yes.
I asked him if he's conceded. Now, see? Now you lied. And I want $20. What's your
I
cash
got
app?
I got it on the back chat. I got my answer on the back chat straight from Google.
Right.
Yes, but this is what I'm Uthman.
Uthman.
But what honey, what I'm saying is
Somebody go on mute.
Who typing on a damn typewriter, no less?
What I'm trying to say is, honey, we believe that Uthman has the most preserved version from the time of the Prophet Muhammad. So when I say that Uthman
most preserved.
what I'm trying to explain to you is like we believe that Uthman's version is the version that the Prophet Muhammad had.
Wait, can I ask a question? So which one said don't believe the other one?
That was Ibn Masud. Well,
Ibn
Masud. Well,
right, go ahead.
Ibn Masud. Well, but Uthman also tells you the same thing, not to trust Ibn Masud.
But wait a minute. So Ibn Masud said don't trust Uthman because he got somebody else that was still a baby when the Prophet Muhammad was reciting, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why would y'all believe that person that contracted somebody else that wasn't even old enough to know what the Prophet Muhammad was saying versus the one that was versus the other guy who was right there?
That's a good question. Ask him that.
So the Quran, there's a Quran verse where it says, we have sent it down and we will preserve it. This is meaning that we believe that God has a hand in the preservation of the Quran. And today, the only version we really have is the Uthman's version. We don't really have the other version that is that y'all are talking about.
Somebody asked me if he's using.
Well, wait a minute. Can I ask? So listen. So this is the problem that I'm having with just this little part, right, of what I've been listening to. Uthman went and got, what's his name? What's the other person's little boy name?
Zayd ibn Thabit.
Zayd ibn Thabit to write it, right? That's equivalent to King James getting Shakespeare and all the other motherfuckers that write it. It's the same thing. It's the equivalent, if you ask me.
No, because these people were living during the time of the Prophet Muhammad. So
Zayd ibn Thabit, according to the sources you said were valid,
King James did not live
was
during
a child,
the time of Jesus.
and he was not under the Prophet Muhammad.
No, I'm talking about the writing. The little boy, he contracted somebody that's like right now.
That's correct.
Now, why are two companions of Muhammad say not to trust each other?
Yeah, I don't know. I got because the other guy, the guy
we believe that
Ibn.
Allah had a hand in this. So we believe whatever version that Allah would have chosen is what we would have came out with.
Allah is such control that y'all niggas is burning shit.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Because Allah's the decider. You get what I'm saying? We believe that Allah had a hand in the choice that was made as far as the Quran. Had the other guy's Quran been correct, it would have been the one that would have survived and would have lasted.
So whatever y'all burned is clearly not the one that Allah wanted. Because that's how they got it.
What I'm saying is we have faith that Allah preserved his book. And we have faith that that's pretty much it. Like we believe
you have evidence that Allah preserved his book?
Preserved it.
Come on, don't ask that like that. Come on. That's messed up. Come on, don't kill him off. Don't do that. I know it's what he's saying, but don't ask it like that.
Yeah. Right, but that's what I'm having that's where I'm having a problem with reconciling with this thing, because that's like my son, right? I raised him.
That's right.
I mean, it's the same thing. It's just a little equivalent to me, right? Because this little boy was not old enough to know what Muhammad recited. Right. So it's the same thing. But weren't both of them part of the Allah's prophet? I mean, Muhammad's thing.
Both
they both
were. Now listen,
both of them lived during the time
Zayd
of
ibn Thabit. Zayd ibn Thabit, who compiled it, was not a companion of Muhammad. Zayd ibn Thabit was not a companion of Muhammad.
No, the other guy.
But now listen, because here's the thing. Uthman told Zayd ibn Thabit to put it together, right? but Uthman told Zayd ibn Thabit to put it together, but Uthman was not part of putting it together. That was Zayd ibn Thabit. The person who put it together. So you have someone who would have been a child and not around the Prophet Muhammad, and someone who was around the Prophet Muhammad. They put together different versions of the text.
So Abu Bakr is like the Prophet Muhammad's like right-hand man, and Abu Bakr had he basically signed with Uthman. And
okay, see, I didn't know that part.
No, what I'm saying, it's been preserved since the time of the Prophet Muhammad. But what I'm trying to explain is we in Islam are familiar with the history as far as the other versions.
Boy, don't nobody give a shit. Please answer the question that's asked. But listen, we know you're gonna say
it. Leandre.
He listen.
What happened?
And he's feeling
being nice, bro.
He's not. Listen, because he keeps talking about. We're familiar with this.
Down right now.
No, he didn't. Listen.
DeAndre, at the beginning of the call, you told me you was gonna be nice. What happened?
I didn't say that. I wouldn't lie like that at all.
The brother can't take a loss.
Somebody recorded it.
He thought he was gonna come over to this Muslim and it was gonna be a win.
Everybody watched you. Listen, bro. Listen. Hey, Jesse. Jesse. Let me warn you. Do not take a poll of how people think you did in this. Don't take a poll. I'm warning you now, because these sisters, as I've talked to them, they are very, very honest, very intelligent. So listen, if you want to protect your nuts and your ego, don't ask them how they think he performed in this chat.
I think Honey has an excellent point of it being preserved from a certain century, not from the beginning. I think no, just based on his stance. Based
on his stance, you can't believe that either, because again, what he has today what he has today in the 1924 Raw Cairo edition is different than what he has even in the Hafs version from the 8th century. It largely leans to the Hafs text, but it's not the same. So if he's using the standardized version 1924, that's not perfectly preserved either. Now again, he doesn't know that. He don't know that.
It all means the same.
It does not mean the same thing either.
There is no variation in book numbers. There's no
yes, there
variation.
is. I literally
all Qurans have 114.
Wait, Leandre, just let him talk for a second, please.
I was in the middle of talking. He came in talking. We talk about let him talk. I was in the middle of pointing out why there's a difference.
Okay, I let him talk. Go ahead.
We needed the defibrillator.
But he did say, Jesse, that there's one has 111, one has 114, one has 116. Right? Am I getting it wrong? The numbers wrong?
So
nope, you got 111, 114, 116, and that's just of 3 of them. That's not including the Sanaa palimpsest. We're not counting the number of surahs, and there's differences. There's a bunch of differences here, but he can go ahead.
I got a question for the bar.
So the difference is, sister, is only one is recognized, and we only have one book with 114 chapters that we believe goes back to Uthman, that goes back to the Prophet Muhammad. So when I tell you that we believe that our book has been perfectly preserved since the Prophet Muhammad, what we have is the same thing that the Prophet Muhammad had, and
rhetoric,
and the hadiths that the brother has brought up is just the history on how we got here. So we're familiar.
Can I ask the bar a question?
We're familiar with in Islam with the Quran being burned. We're familiar with the contradicting Qurans, and what we're saying is the one that is correct is Uthman's Quran, and that's the only one that's universally recognized.
No, I get that. But the perfectly preserved thing goes out the window with all of the different fighting over it.
Can I ask the bar a question?
It doesn't, because we're declaring.
Can I ask the bar a perfectly valid question?
The whole world is in agreement that the one with
hold on, Jesse. I need to clarify the question real quick.
It's not like where in Christianity they're arguing on which Bible is the correct one, rather it's the one with the apocryphal or the one without the apocryphal.
The bar's question for y'all. So I'm not maybe I'm not the sharpest person in the world. If somebody tells me like I have a perfectly preserved 1950 Corvette, right? If somebody tells me that means that nothing has changed in this Corvette from the moment it came up the assembly line. But then I come to it and buy and say, well, I had to get the headers on the engine changed in the 62, and I had to get the rims changed in 85. But it's the same type that was made during that time, but it's not the same as it came off the lot. If I'm winning the cars, if somebody sells me something that's perfectly preserved, that means nothing on this car has ever been switched, changed, authorized, it's never been replaced or anything like that. No, I'm saying when you purchase when someone, then it's not perfectly preserved. Like that's what I'm saying. No, if you go to a car, if you go to like one of those like antique car shows and they tell you something is perfectly preserved,
that means all original.
That means everything's original. There's nothing has been.
Well, that doesn't fit the definition of all original though.
No.
Between
that's
stock and refurbished.
Well, that's not what was asked. Remember,
stock and refurbished.
Was asked the question.
Stock vehicle is the exact same parts from the original.
Well, yes, you remember because don't try to claim his argument for him. I asked him what he meant. No. Well, honey, wait. Here's the problem with the analogy.
That's not what I stated.
Here's the problem with the analogy. Remember, I asked him. Remember, I asked him. No. He's not talking about perfectly perverse version because remember, I asked. No, he didn't because I asked him pointedly if he has. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. If you're saying he did that, then that means he's doing doublespeak. Because remember, I asked him, does he have what was uttered? No, listen. No. If he's doublespeaking, well, asked him if what we have. Well, no. Remember, because what he was asked originally, and I set this up on purpose. Do you have what came from the mouth of the Prophet Muhammad? Well, no. So cool. So the only thing you need to do right now is tell him, hey, that's different than what you said at first.
So in my analogy, the reason why I asked that is that if you got a 1950 Corvette, perfectly preserved OEM, nothing's ever been changed. Like no matter what happens to it, no matter what you can't say that, and then I'll say, oh, I had to change the headers, or I had to change the hook caps, or I had to change. No, because if I heard him correctly, even with his assertion, he said he admitted that the standardization happened in because if I heard it correctly, he said nothing has changed as far as their the meaning, but the variants could have changed, but the variants don't change the meaning. Well, by definition,
I asked if the text of the Quran has been
perfectly preserved,
back to what came from the mouth of Prophet Muhammad.
That's
so
why
again,
I said the car example.
So the problem, honey, with your analogy is he's talking about before 1950. What I'm asking, honey, wait. No, honey, but that's what I'm saying. Here's the problem with your analogy using the 1950 thing. If it came about in 1950, and I asked you, does it go back to 1950? You can't say, well, it was before 1950, because what we're talking about is 1950 when it came out. If he says, if I ask him, do you have what was came from the factory in 1950? And he says, yes, it's exactly as it came from the factory in 1950. Well, whatever was produced by, honey, wait. Listen, you have to tell him he changed the stance and that he's contradicting himself. Because that's what No, honey, you're honey, you're trying to clean up what he's saying because, honey, listen, you're trying to clean up what he's saying. No, then you have to say that directly. You can't say, well, then it would still work because what you're saying. No, wait, honey, let me finish. No, honey, listen, honey, the problem is that one, his original claim wasn't that. He needs to know what you said is different. And two, and then two, that's different. Not only is that different than what I asked, but that's also contradicted by things that he said out of his own mouth. He said, as I was discussing difference between the Hafs version of the Quran and the 1924 World Cairo edition, he agreed that there are differences between those two. So he can't say it's perfectly preserved from then either. You don't have a perfectly preserved Quran.
Which is why I made the car analogy about, like, even if you change parts from the same thing.
It flies perfectly. I asked, do you listen? If I say there's a car that produced in 1954,
perfectly.
No, that was the question.
Okay. Well,
that was the question. Because let me break it down.
I don't know why you're not better, honey. Hold on, Drake. Let me break down what I'm saying. If he admitted that whatever happens from the standardization from the Wars to the Hafs, moving forward from 1924, then he admits that, and he said, and I heard him say that there may have been different variations, but the meaning has not changed at all, which is fine. So in the car analogy, if you say I have a perfectly preserved car from 1950 and
run the same,
the car is still working. The engine still functions as a 1950 Chevrolet Corvette, but it just means that the headers that are that currently in this car at the 1960 are not the same that came off the factory. It can work exactly the same. It doesn't change the function of the car, but you can't tell me this is a perfectly preserved car and then say, "Oh,
the same car." Is it the same car?
If you make as I'm saying, if you do antique cars,
it is the same car, right?
No,
it's not the same car.
No, it's not the same car. That's what you say. It's a perfect. If you say it's a perfectly preserved car, That means nothing has changed from the moment that it came out of the factory. Nothing on it has ever
The same
changed.
car, right? Hold on. Let's just focus. Let's make sure we're talking about the same car. Let's just so we're focused on the same car.
Exactly.
It's the same type of car.
Same car.
But you change,
same car itself.
You've changed physical character. It's the same type. It's still a Chevy Corvette. But you know what? It's not. It's not all original, which is the question. And again, and like I said, what Honey
same car, right, bro?
Trying to save this thing. The question was not if it's still a Chevy Corvette. That's not the question. The question was, is it exactly the same as came to factory? Because that was the question. It can't be. You're only listening to Leandre because Leandre framed the question.
Yes. Yes.
It can't
like
be.
If you get into a car wreck. Then it's no longer the exact same.
And it's not this
perfectly preserved car.
No,
that's two different things. I didn't say perfect condition, sister. I'm saying, but you said perfect condition. Wow, yeah, honey. But you just said it though, honey.
Perfect. That is subjective.
No,
that's not subjective.
That's very subjective.
I don't know. I don't know if y'all heard it correctly. There's a difference between. I didn't say perfect condition. I don't know if y'all heard me. Did y'all
hear stupid? Who came up with that?
Right. But honey, respectfully, all I said was all I gave the analogy, and I was very specific with my car.
The same car.
All I said.
Everybody cannot talk at the same time.
Okay. That's why I asked
the same car, bro.
One mic.
Okay, so can I make sure I was clear? I never spoke about a perfectly condition. I said perfectly preserved car. Hold on. Who else was on the call heard me with everything I said? I said a perfectly preserved car, not changed.
Okay, time out.
Perfectly preserved.
You said that. He didn't say that.
I'm saying.
We didn't both bring evidence. Don't lie. He did not bring it. No, he brought zero evidence. No. It's by definition what evidence mean is things that are evident. Listen, that does not count as evidence. By definition of evidence,
the same car don't count as evidence.
I posted my Google post on the back chat.
Yeah.
Honey, what's this change about what I said?
It was his topic in the first place. Ain't that your title, Leandre? Completely retarded.
I don't know who's talking. No, that wasn't my title.
Really? This is your idea.
That's not my title.
You got nerve to get out here.
See, listen. No, he's not. He just changed it. He's not. He literally just agreed that the difference between the Haas and the 1924 Royal Cairo edition, which he uses now. Like, that's what I'm saying. So, but here's the... So, honey, what do we call that? Honey, what's the word for that?
It's the same.
Honey, what's the word for that? No. Don't say no.
We have the most. We have the most.
No, I want you to say what he's doing.
That can
no, I
go
want
back
you. No, I want you. No,
Muhammad.
listen. I want you to say what he's doing. Don't say you know. Let's let everybody know, so that way it's not just me and you. Let's bring everybody up to speed. If I ask the question, And he answered, yes, it's going to be exactly that. And he provided no evidence to support his original claim.
I posted
And
my
we're
evidence
now
in the back
somewhere
chat.
else. There's a logical meaning. This is called moving the goalposts. Is what it is. He refused to concede to the first point. The only thing that happens as a result of all of this is that what he originally said, he's now admitted is not true. The idea of perfect preservation of the Quran. No, honey. What I'm asking you to do is, honey. No, honey. No, honey. You had ample opportunity, honey. Listen, the problem.
He be goalpost moving, don't he?
No, there's no goalpost move for me, you idiot. That didn't happen. I'm not goalpost moving anything. I'm not goalpost moving. I'm having a consistent position from the beginning. Asking about the original thing that I asked. What?
Y'all are crying about the same car.
Listen. No, I've already pointed it out. And what I'm telling you is you can't come out loud and say, well, you said out of your mouth for no reason, and it doesn't make any sense. It's not logical. It doesn't fit the definition. It's been perfectly preserved since this time. That's not what I asked. That's not what I asked. It's not the original question that I asked. No. What he claimed originally, that's been perfectly preserved from the lips of Muhammad.
That the Quran has been perfectly preserved since the time of the Prophet Muhammad.
Now you see that? Now, this is why I said you're trying to let him off of that, and this is what I'm saying. This is the problem.
Help with it, as far as we're familiar with. Exactly.
No. Uthman.
The version that he got.
He don't let him get anything
we
out.
believe that Uthman's actions are supported by God, which help lead to the preservation of the Quran that we have today.
Cool. Now you see, this is why I said what I said. You have now let him, because you just said something that's also false and historically not valid. Uthman did not put together a text during the entirety of the life of the Prophet Muhammad. So saying that he's saying it happened in the life of the Prophet Muhammad, you can't say that. You're trying to help him, and you're adding it, and you're adding.
Muhammad? Was Uthman alive during the time?
Well, what you said though is false. What you said though is false,
brother.
You added that, and he agreed to it, and it's false. Uthman didn't put together a single text. Neither Uthman and Zayd. No. Listen, like I said,
was
Uthman and Zayd
alive during the Prophet Muhammad?
Yes, but the text didn't come about during the life of the Prophet Muhammad.
Now let me say something.
See?
Let me say something real quick.
But they saying it's been preserved since Guzman.
I just want to point this out.
No, he said it's preserved from the time of the Prophet Muhammad. He just said it again. My goodness.
Now, let me say something real quick. Now, I've been saying that the Quran has been preserved since the time of the Prophet Muhammad. We believe that Uthman, who lived during the time of the Prophet Muhammad, helped compile the Quran and made sure that it was standardized. And we believe this. Now, what I want you to recognize is you are holding my Quran to a standard that you don't even hold the Bible to. Because when we talk about,
so we're gonna change subject. That's what y'all did.
This is on subject. Because when we talk about the compilation of the Bible did not happen during the time of Jesus, nor none of the companions. The Bible or the New Testament was
we've now changed subjects. Thanks, honey.
Jesus.
He does make a good point.
The New Testament was
Right.
No, it does. It does. It does, because like I said, no, listen.
Uthman,
You just said that you just talked about, well, he's saying happened. Listen, he can't say that, and it's also false. There's no reason to say that, because and listen, but the thing is again, you said, oh, he's saying it happened in a time. That can't be what he's saying. It's also not what he said. Neither one of those things. He didn't say it, and it also can't be said because it didn't happen.
Uthman lived during the time of the Prophet Muhammad.
That's not the question whether he lived in the time of the Prophet Muhammad. The question is, did the Quran, did the text of the Quran come about during the time of the Prophet Muhammad? I literally just read you. Couldn't have.
I want you to recognize this. I want you to recognize this. Do you know that people memorize the Quran by heart? Like there's brothers.
No, I don't. And the Hadith said that they didn't either. It said that people who were supposed to have done so. All right,
there's people who do it today. There's literally
you do
brothers. Yeah, there's Muslims
See,
Muslims
see,
who
y'all trying to
remember
help,
the
and
Quran.
y'all making him think he got a point. See, that's what I'm talking about.
Hold on.
I'm mad at all of y'all now.
Because what I'm trying to explain
I'm
to
mad
you
at
is
y'all now.
Why I
what I'm
gotta
trying
be
to
included in this?
what I'm
Because
trying to
y'all
explain to
ain't
you
because y'all
is
let this happen. Y'all did this.
I try to
he
tell
doesn't want to
I
everybody
keep
to
understand
trying to
the
stop.
keep him
points.
to a topic. I keep trying to keep him to a topic. Nah, hell no.
This is
I'm mad.
all within
Nah,
the
I don't.
topic.
You know what? I'm mad. I'm mad
Because
now.
now I'm
I'm
trying to
mad now.
explain to you how people memorize the Quran.
It's
So
okay,
with that being
Leandre.
said, there are people today who memorize the Quran by heart from the front of the book to the end of the book, and the same thing was happening since the time of the Prophet Muhammad. Now, when Uthman gathered these believers, he had people with scriptures, and he also had people who remembered it by heart. So what we have is a book that has been preserved by oral tradition, and it all lines up 100%, no matter where you go, and it's
Y'all
been
did this.
preserved. It's been preserved by Uthman, who lived during the time of the Prophet Muhammad. Muhammad was alive when Uthman was around. Now, what I was trying to point out is this brother has such a hard time grasping that, but he doesn't take into account that within his own book, the Bible, Jesus, nobody,
Y'all did this. Y'all did this. It's
Jesus,
y'all. It's the bar's fault.
But
the
why
New
do y'all
Testament,
gotta keep talking over him and cutting him off? Why he
the New
can't get nothing
Testament,
out?
the New Testament was written between 70 to 100 years after the life of Jesus, while we have Uthman, who was around during the time of the Prophet Muhammad. So you get what I'm saying? Like y'all are holding. You're not being fair in your comprehension of the preservation of the Quran, and you're not holding the Quran to the same standard that you hold the Bible. You, oh well, the definition is to me is that, like I've been saying from the beginning, we believe in Islam that we have one universal Quran that has been since the time of Uthman, which has even goes back further to the time of the Prophet Muhammad, because we believe that the Uthman's version is the version that the Prophet Muhammad had, and we believe universally that this is the correct Quran. So we believe that there's only one real version, and there's no argument on what that version is, and we believe that it's been preserved since the time of the Prophet Muhammad. So we got into these topics as far as like how other Qurans have been burned, and yes, this is historical facts, but what we're saying is we believe that God had a hand in this, and ultimately the correct Quran has survived the test of time, and that's the only one that any Muslim is reading today.
The bar, y'all did this. This is y'all fault because I tried to tell y'all before, and y'all tried to say he changed his position, and he's back to saying the same BS came out as left before. This is double speak. I don't want to call it double speak. Okay, the stuff that he's saying he provided. You have to be a little bit retarded to be a Muslim. You have to be. It's a requirement. It's in the Bible. You got to be.
Brother,
No,
this is not double speak.
because
This has been my stance from the beginning.
see, like I said, it is.
So yeah. Well, I mean, the burning of the Qurans and stuff like that. This is like Islamic history. But what I'm trying to explain to you is any
You keep
Muslim,
saying that shit. I don't know why. Tell me
because
why.
any Muslim will agree with me. Like if any Muslim knows this history, recognizes that the book that has been preserved is the correct book that Uthman had. So
Everyone we got left is the correct one.
the one that we have left is the correct one.
That's right. So if we pick one,
it's the correct one because it's the only one that we have left.
it's
the correct one.
All right, y'all.
It's
I hate
correct
the bar.
one because
Let me leave this
the
group.
hadiths.
Y'all going to hell.
It's the correct one because the hadiths declared that it was going to be the correct one, and we believe that Uthman had authority by Abu Bakr, which is the Prophet Muhammad's right hand man, and yeah, I mean it's pretty much it. Like we believe in the chain of authority as far as like we believe in the hadiths. So the hadiths that the brother brought forth, we 100% believe in, and we recognize that is the history on how the Quran kept its preservation. I mean, that's it. Like I'm telling you, every Muslim believes the exact same way on this. There is no deviation. Like we all are familiar with Uthman and how he burned the other Qurans that were incorrect. This is our history.
Honey, I'm asking you a question. He said there's no deviation. All Muslims believe this. Was there deviation between Ibn Masud and Uthman and the followers of Ibn Masud and the followers
Brother,
of
I'm talking
Uthman?
Muslims today.
I'm asking Honey a question. I'm asking Honey something. Okay. Can you tell him that there's a difference between them? No, you got to say it because you keep saying he knows stuff, and then you say some stuff that betrays that he retarded a little bit. So I want you to tell him. He didn't say
Brother,
today.
I'm
You
telling
said today.
Muslims today are all familiar with this history.
Okay, cool. So Honey, so just so I clarify, he means to tell me, and Honey, I won't tell me this you hear. Modern Muslims believe that different than what the early Muslims believed. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, because
I'm asking Honey a question. I'm not asking you nothing. No, not some early Muslims. No, Honey, see, don't do that because I can show you. There's a whole book written by, like for example, Surah 53 in the Quran. Surah 53. No, not the Ibn dude, but there's a whole Islamic scholar today, multiple of them. One of which who they tried to stab him to death. There's been multiple of them that they tried to stab to death, including like 70 different translators. But if I take you to Surah 53, for example, Surah 53 is the most edited chapter in the Quran. It's the most edited chapter in the Quran. It's the Satanic Verses chapter, where in the first 200 years, most all Muslims believed that Muhammad had been learning things from Satan and didn't realize it. And that Muhammad, according to Sahih, in order to Sahih hadith, that Muhammad committed shirk, the unpardonable sin in Islam. He committed shirk by making Satan a companion with Allah because Muhammad was so confused by Satan that he thought that Gabriel was talking to him the whole time, and really he was talking to Satan. And so I could tell you that the earliest Muslims thought that the changes in the Quran were not only necessary, but they admitted that they happened, that they don't have the same Quran that came from the mouth of the Prophet Muhammad. They said they needed to fix it because the Prophet Muhammad had been talking to Satan, and Prophet Muhammad was confused. There was a Jew who gave him a poisonous hairbrush and stuff like that, and it confused him and threw him off, and the Jews had cast a spell on him. But then on top of that, the earliest Muslim authorities believed, the earliest Muslims for the first couple hundred years believed that the companions of Muhammad, other companions of Muhammad, were liars. You have all sorts of hadith that tell you not to trust the hadith. They tell you not to trust them because they come from different companions. And so what I'm saying is that in the beginning, most Muslims believe the exact opposite of what he's saying. If he says otherwise, I'm happy to either tonight or on another day. We can run through all of the accounts, but there's entire books written by Muslims, Orthodox Muslim scholars, PhDs, that will tell you that the earliest Muslims believe everything I just said they believe. And so here's... Mm-hmm.
I declare that the brother's lying. The brother's lying. Ain't nobody believing that.
No. No, because like we would call the people who follow Jesus, we would call those people Christians. The Muslims, these were people who they believed in the Prophet Muhammad, and they lived in different regions. There was early beefs going on between these people, where like when the caliphate came about, and there was disputes between who was going to be the legitimate ruler, the difference between like Sunni and Shiite Muslims, for example. It's like 18 different sects of Islam. But anyway, no, it's not like that. No, it's not like that. Yeah, because these are people, because like what we're talking about comparatively would be people who would have been the followers of Jesus versus people who would have been the enemies of Jesus. Same thing like with the followers of Muhammad versus the enemies of Muhammad. So I want you to imagine the disciples beefing. Yeah, I want you to imagine the disciples beefing. Exactly. Yeah, if one of them saying don't listen to Paul, and the other one, and so it's that equivalent.
Paul did that.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
No, he did. Listen, bro. Well, listen. We're not talking about the Bible. We're not talking about the Bible.
His.
We're not talking about the Bible. We're not talking about the Bible. We're not talking about the Bible.
And Paul tried to kill the disciples.
Come on, so every question you want to about the Bible. But today, like I said, we read.
This.
I read out loud.
I know.
I read out loud from
the Bible timeline.
Sometimes you got to recognize some of the things that's going on in your Bible to recognize what's going on.
Listen, we don't need to talk about the Bible because we're talking about the Quran.
It's fine. We'll put it on trial tomorrow.
Don't be scared to hear these verses.
So we'll handle that.
Listen, we don't need to talk about the Bible.
Let's say this.
Tonight,
you just make sure you come defend
it. The brother was wrong when he said that.
Now remember, honey,
because Paul.
You make sure you bring your calculator.
To kill the disciples.
Honey, remember what we're talking about here is
declare that.
Honey, because remember what we're talking about.
We're gonna talk about your 60 authors over 1,500 span. Yeah, that's what we're gonna talk about.
Nobody thinks that there's 60 authors. Nobody thinks
40 authors, whatever. Oh,
like I said,
you know the exact number.
You're just saying stuff. You're just saying stuff. So again, nobody thinks that there's 60 authors.
40 authors. Wow, what do you do?
Acknowledge that Saul was persecuted.
I don't acknowledge nothing except for.
And then 100 years after the fact. 40 authors after the fact.
Nobody says that either. Nobody says that either.
Yeah, we're gonna handle that tomorrow.
Y'all.
And then your covenant that ain't even right.
Because what y'all have to realize is, the whole point is, a lot of these things that y'all are bringing up about the Quran are even worse in the Bible. Like,
so false. So false.
See, look. This is my claim.
It's called, honey.
Look,
honey. It's called a two-quote fallacy.
What I want you to realize is this brother.
Two-quote fallacy.
This brother has brought the argument to the table. You get what I'm saying? This brother has brought the argument to the table. He's the one who chose the topic, and here I am.
That's why we're not changing the topic.
I'm standing on my topic. Now,
you're not standing on your topic.
I am.
We're telling you, you're not standing on the topic.
I'm standing.
Why are we talking about the Bible?
A part of my Quran.
So your Bible isn't perfectly preserved.
My whole thing is, y'all are not holding your book.
I was glad you admitted
you would hold my book. You get what I'm saying? So it's like, here you are. You're talking.
I guess this Bible's not perfectly preserved, is it?
My book is
fall back.
And your book is not preserved at the same level. You get what I'm saying?
So,
like you're not on the same level as me.
Yes, we're not on the same level. Perfectly preserved.
The Bible? No.
I'm talking about the Quran.
Oh yeah, I'm saying.
Hey, honey,
my book is
honey, do me a favor.
First of all,
write down the fact that he's saying out loud that the Bible's not perfectly preserved. It's going to be important.
I'm saying that the Quran
for a Quran
is better
conversation.
Preserved than the Bible.
Write it down.
And I'm standing on the fact that the Quran is preserved. But I'm saying
perfectly.
Just in addition to me saying it's
perfectly preserved,
I'm saying that it's more preserved than the Bible.
Honey, ask him if it's perfectly preserved, because it's different than what I asked him at first. Yes. Better preserved than the Bible is not the same as perfectly preserved.
It's in a more standard than what you have.
Honey, please clarify, because you see how he's doing double speaking, and please ask him.
But what I'm trying to explain to you is, brother, where is the standard? If my Quran is more preserved
Let him skip it.
What is
Please,
the
we got to get an
argument?
answer.
You get what I'm saying? I say it is.
Okay, now here's the problem.
That
Now
nigga be
here's the
jumping out
issue.
the fucking tree.
Now here's the issue. The fact is, and we can certainly get into it, but he's not going to be able to stand on that. That is even better considered in the Bible. He's not going to be able to. But tonight,
Brother,
let's stick to the issue of
all
no.
of our Qurans have
Let's stick to the issue of the
114
Quran tonight.
chapters.
Stick to the issue of the Quran tonight. Let's stick to the issue of the Quran tonight. So here's the issue with the Quran
I
tonight.
gotta hit you on these Bible verses because you are
You can hit me with whatever Bible verse you want to.
Brother,
you can hit me with whatever Bible verse you want to.
You
Oh,
are
there's no hypocrisy here. There's a person who's educated on textual criticism, at least more than you, and then there's you.
Brother,
so
you're talking about textual criticism, and you don't even hold
Yes,
your own
textual-
book to the same standard that you're holding mine.
yes, I do. I literally
No,
do.
you don't.
I literally do. Yes, I do. You don't know that because
So,
you don't
all
even
right,
listen.
brother.
You don't
brother,
know enough about your own book. You don't know enough
Brother.
about your own book to turn and ask me about mine.
do you respect the apocryphal version?
Do I respect it as what?
Do you respect that as to be the book of truth?
No, I don't know what you mean by the book of truth, because I view it the same way that the Jews did. I do it the same way that the early church did. Later,
So you think that the apocryphal version is
See,
not
watch this.
canon?
yes, the same way that the Jews did in and out of Palestine. They did not believe that it was canonical in the same way that the other books were inspired by God. We know this from the books that they stored in the
You
temple.
got a whole
We know that.
church.
Let me finish
You
the
got a
answer.
whole
Let me
church
finish the
of
answer.
who follow that book.
Listen, that's irrelevant to the question you asked
It's
me.
not, because
It
this is a
is.
whole different Bible.
Again,
And
I
you
want
don't
to
even
point out.
respect it.
No, wait. I want to point out that one, you still jumped off of the Quran because Muslims never want to talk about the Quran. They always want to talk about the Bible. You want to
Brother,
compare.
I have been talking about the
Let
Quran
me
this whole time.
let me finish. Let me finish what I'm saying. Let me finish my
I'm
answer.
about to start slapping you on the head about your book.
Listen, let me finish. Listen. First and foremost, what you don't understand.
What you are doing is
Are you going to let me
hypocritical.
respond? No, there's nothing hypocritical because I can show you.
Because you don't
Listen,
hold
I
your
can.
book to the same standard that you hold
Holding
mine.
it to the exact same standards. That's the problem.
You're
You don't
not.
know. You don't know the standard, and you also don't know my position. You don't know the early Jewish position on it. You don't know the early Christian position on it. I can literally give you writings on the early Christian position. I give you writing on the Jewish position on this text. I can give you Van Druten. I can give you modern scholarship on extra biblical and parabiblical writings. And I know so because I've actually done the work. I'm a historian. I know the answers to these questions.
So
You
you're
don't know the
familiar
answer
with
to
the
any question.
Council of Nicaea?
Yes, I'm familiar with the Council of Nicaea where none of this was discussed. There's not a single. There's dealt with any of these
The
topics. None of
Council
them.
of Nicaea
Not one. There's
dealt
not
with
one.
the divinity of Christ.
Yes,
This is where
it
y'all
had
get-
nothing to
this is
do.
where
It had
y'all
nothing
get
to do
y'all
with this
divinity of
topic,
Christ.
and it has nothing to do with this topic about
It
the text
does.
of Scripture. It does not.
Because when we talk about the Prophet Muhammad,
What
the
session in the
Quran-
Council of Nicaea dealt with this? What session? Name the session.
the
What
point
session of the
is
Council of Nicaea dealt with the question of Scripture? Give me this. Give me the session.
the whole
I am.
council.
Listen.
the
I'm an
Council
actual
of
credentialed
Nicaea-
historian.
the
I'm a
Council of
credentialed
Nicaea-
historian. You're
brother,
just saying nonsense.
brother.
You're saying
So
nonsense.
did
No
the
session of the Council of Nicaea
have
dealt with this.
anything to do with the divinity of Christ?
Yes, it had nothing to do with this question of the canon, which is what you asked about.
It
No
is,
session of the
because
council-
when we talk about canon,
No session of the
they
Council of Nicaea dealt with
they were
any of
the
this.
ones who decided what was canon.
No, they did not. That was not a discussion at any session of the Council of Nicaea. You have that completely wrong.
Bet.
You cannot Google it right. Listen,
I'm about
we
to
get
Google it
listen.
right now.
Listen, I will bet you $50,000 right this second that there's no session of the Council of Nicaea that dealt with the canon of Scripture. 50,000. Find it. Oh, listen. Here's the thing. You can open up the canons of the Council of Nicaea, and they'll tell you what they discussed in each portion. So please get the primary and read to me when they debated and discussed what was going to be in the canon. It did not happen. It's literally just your statement. This is something the internet people believe. It was not. There was nothing discussed. This was not the discussion of the Council of Nicaea. The discussion of the Council of Nicaea largely to discuss the Arian crisis, the Donatist crisis. That's what happened to the Council of Nicaea. We read this in Eusebius, the church ecclesiastical history, the church history. So there's no session that dealt with this. It didn't happen. You're just talking.
So it was over the theological divinity of Jesus Christ, correct?
Yes, had nothing to do with the
This
canon
is
of
an
Scripture in the
issue.
books. No.
This is an
The
issue for
question,
y'all.
honey, please tell him that he's off topic. He said about the canon of Scripture. Please tell him. He talked about the Apocrypha and the canon of Scripture. Somebody tell him that he's off topic.
Yeah, we know he's off. Yes, because we're
No.
not
He
talking
needs to
about
hear.
that.
Honey,
Okay.
please tell him he's off topic.
You're off topic, but we're talking about because we're talking about the Quran, right?
Yes,
Can we
listen, but
stay on
watch
there
this.
so we can get to the other part tomorrow?
Listen, but watch this. But this is what I'm saying. He's just grasping at straws. I know about his book and I know about mine. He doesn't know about his book and he doesn't know about mine. There's a difference here. So when he talks, I'm not holding to the same standard. He has no idea what he's talking about. I could listen. There's a book that I got upstairs. It says Jews in the time of Jesus in the New Testament. It's a whole book that's going to tell you about the canons that they had from Hellenized Jews versus Palestinian Jews. And guess what they had? They had the same canon. None of these people were saying that the apocryphal books were to be viewed the same as the Tanakh. The Torah, the Nevi'im, and the Ketuvim. They didn't store these books up in the temple. They didn't read them that way. These are called paratextual Jewish literature. You can read Van Bruten. Van Bruten is a modern scholar who writes about paratextual literature and extra biblical literature. The Jews were producing. After the time of Malachi, the Jews were under the impression that the voice of God had stopped speaking. So none of the writing that they were producing during that time did they think, according to the Jews themselves, did they think that these things were canonical scripture. They didn't think that these things were to be viewed the same way as the Torah, as the writings, or as the prophets. They would have never stacked these books up on top of each other. They had a whole way that they would even set the books. Okay? There's a whole practice of this. And we know that this practice was the same among Palestinian and Hellenized Jews. We used to think, scholars used to believe that the Hellenized Jews and the Palestinian Jews had a practice. We now know that they had the same canonical scriptures that they thought were scripture throughout the diaspora, throughout the Jewish diaspora. That's a fact. And scholarship is going to tell you all the same thing that I'm telling you right now. So telling me about these apocryphal books, there were later people who were not Jews, who were not the earliest Christians who came about and said that these things are scripture. But the problem is that none of the data backs that up. We know what books they stored in the temple. We have writings of first century Jews telling us the way that they view the scriptures. We know from reading just the Old Testament what books that they viewed as canonical. We know this from the way they stacked the books. We know from what they read at certain ceremonies. We know from inscriptions. We know from writings, from funerary inscriptions, you name it. We know what books the Jews held as canonical. We know what that is. You don't know anything about your book. I know a lot about mine. There's a difference, buddy. And I'm freestyle, pacing in my living room, holding wine.
The difference is we have one. Y'all are still in argument.
You don't have one.
Correct.
You don't have one.
You don't
know which Bible's correct.
You don't have one.
We know
I just gave you the Warsh and the Hoff. I gave you the 1924 Royal Cairo edition.
Brother, the only people who are
arguing
have way more than are non-believers like you.
I named 15 of them off the dome. There's 12 other ones that I don't even know of offhand.
None of us in Islam are in disagreement on this.
Listen, if you have 27 different versions, you have 27 different versions that exist right now today. This is after you burned.
Versions.
Yes, there are. There's over 27 different versions of the Quran that you can buy right now and have in your hands. Okay, there's over 27 you can buy right now today. And then remember, in 1927, you burned a bunch of versions. You burned a bunch of versions before that with Uthman. You burned a bunch of versions after that. Ibn Masud said not to trust this version. Uthman said not to trust his other version. You have what's his name? Umayyad, whatever his name is. Umayyad ibn whatever. Ibn Qaib. He also had a different version. There's different numbers of surahs, different chapters, different word.
Divine to you.
Listen, Jesus is divine according to the text. According to the text, he's divine. Jesus is prescribed last.
This wasn't until the Council of Nicaea. The Council of Nicaea is the one who gave y'all that divinity of
That
Christ.
is nonsense. That is nonsense because in the book of the Revelation, Latruo is ascribed to Jesus. Do you know what Latruo is?
Brother, this is stuff that.
Do you know what? Listen, I asked you listen. No, it's not. No, it's not because we have writings. We have writings of earlier church fathers, hundreds of years prior to, where a divinity is ascribed to Jesus. In 1 Corinthians 15, and this would have come about 1 to 3 years after the death of Jesus. It's there. Philippians, in Philippians, the 2nd chapter, there's an early hymn to Jesus that calls him divine. We have writings. We have writings. Brother,
early.
Let me finish. Let me finish what I'm saying. Let me finish what I'm saying. Let me finish what I'm saying.
Council of Nicaea.
Bull butter. No. They were both groups thought that Jesus was divine. The debate was over whether there was a time that Jesus was. No. Don't tell me incorrect. Don't tell me incorrect. You can go read Arius. You can go read Arius' writings and the writings of Arius' followers himself, and they're going to say Jesus was divine, that he was God from true God. The question was there a time when Jesus was not? They literally had a hymn that said there was a time when Jesus was not. But they all thought he was divine. Every party thought he was divine. They were trying to decide whether or not he was begotten eternally or if he was begotten at a certain point in time. if he was eternal or not. So the debate was over his divinity, but over what that divinity meant, whether he was eternal or whether or not he came about at a certain time. You don't know this because you never read any of this stuff. And you sit around in Muslim circles trying to understand the Bible when no writer of the Quran had any idea of what the Bible had to say. Listen, you keep talking about your proof, and it's like Google Gemini AI stuff, when all we have to do is go read what Arius, his writings, and his followers had to say themselves. What were the early hymns of Arius? They said there was a time when he was not. They didn't believe he was less divine. You can go read Ignatius. You can read the earliest writings. You can go read Caesar Hadrian's writings between himself and a spy that he sent to spy on the Christian church. And when he sent the spies into the Christian church in like 136, they came back. And this is a couple hundred years before the Council of Nicaea, buddy. 200 years prior to that, the statement was that they worshiped Jesus as a god. So they clearly believed he was a divine. And this is from Caesar Hadrian's writing back and forth with his servant who he sent in to spy on the Christians. So again,
go read my proof.
No. Listen, I'm literally giving you things that you can read out loud. As a matter of fact, there's an entire book set that I'm going to grab off my bookshelf right now. It's called Christianity and Paganism hang on.
It's paganism for sure. Read that one.
Yeah, hold on. Watch this.
You're a pagan.
Yeah. See, so again, you don't
worship.
You don't even know what the book is talking about. You're just jumping something. Yeah. So
I don't worship
you worship a man. Muhammad's name.
The core.
Yes, you do. Muhammad's name means the same thing that Allah means.
Brother, the core part of our
there's 92 times. 92 times in the Quran you're told to emulate everything.
There is no God but
listen.
Allah.
Hey, listen.
Allah is the creator of the heavens and earth. Only He's
worthy
of worship.
Can everybody see the book?
We don't worship man. You want us to worship man with you. We're not with you on that.
You have an entire religious system where you have to copy the way that a man traveled. A source book. Now, this is Ramsey Mullah and Eugene N. Lane. No. Listen, these are two Roman historians, okay? And it's and so you can read through the entirety of sources where they're going to talk to you about what was stated about the Christians early on. So you can read. Let me see. So let's go to Perceptions of Christianity. Let's go to page 164, and let's just read what they were saying about the Christians, and we'll see. Like, well, it's made up at the Council of Nicaea, and then watch it not be there.
So I'm gonna go ahead while you get that pulled up. I'm gonna read what I found from Google. It says the main purpose of the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD was to resolve the Arian controversy and and establish the divinity of Christ.
Yeah. Are you reading from Google again?
Within the church.
Are you reading from Google again?
To the Nicene Creed, a common misconception is that the council who also established the biblical canon, but this was not the case. The formation of the canon was more organic process that happened over time with the first council of Nicaea not even discussing the biblical books.
Honey, listen to what, honey, can you have him read that again? Listen, he just told me, it was about the canon. Can you please have him read that last sentence again?
Okay. And think about this. What I just read does not change the fact
Nigga, shut up and read it.
It does not change the
shut
fact
up and read it, bro.
Oh, man.
What's canon and what's not over time.
Honey, you see how you ain't saying nothing? This is what I be talking about.
Brother,
no, I just read it. That's why.
No, I won't hit. Listen, tell him to say. Listen, no, because he's full of it.
I'll read it again. Because it's still a slap to your face because y'all are still.
Slap to my face.
Yeah, because you're still taking out and adding on to what's the book to decide what is canon.
But that's what. Hold on, wait a minute. What? That's not. Because the same thing that you're saying that kept your shit pure, you're reading that they're not doing anything to the books, right? To the actual books and everything, and you're saying, but that's a problem here.
The common misconceptions at the Council of Nicaea also established the biblical canon, but this was not the case. Now, remember, genius, you told me that that's what they did at the Council of Nicaea.
Keep on reading. Keep on reading.
Listen. I'm about to pull up at a nigga house here in just a minute. It
No,
says, this is not the
Leandra, you
case.
gotta go to bed now.
No,
The
he good.
formation of the canon was a more organic process that happened over time. The first council of Nicaea not even discussing the biblical books. I literally told you that there's not a single solitary session in the council
All
of
right.
Nicaea
Y'all
where they
decided.
discussed.
Y'all decided what was canon over time.
No. Listen.
This is no
If
good
y'all,
for you,
if
buddy.
y'all so come off your mic and
No,
tell
what
us,
you're
nigga.
saying is wrong, Jesse.
Look,
Thank you.
He's saying that they're not
I was
discussing the
wrong.
biblical
Look,
book,
check
not
this
even
out. I was
discussing the
wrong
biblical
when I said
books.
that
What are
the
you
Council of
saying?
Nicaea decided what was canon, but this does not change that they canon. They decided what was canon over time. So over
Listen,
time,
DMG,
they
go to
have
sleep. Why are you still
organically
up?
choosing what they should take and what should
Organically
add
choosing.
in the book. And
Organically
that's what
choosing.
that says.
What's choosing?
Choosing.
CHOOFC.
Why you gotta be a
choosing.
not your grammar Nazi?
Is this
Okay,
like
so
cooking?
So
okay, but guess what, y'all? Guess what, y'all? This ain't the conversation for today. Today we was talking about the Quran, and so that's what we talking about.
No. The rest of the bar, come off your mic. Tell the nigga he off.
This is the
Tell him he
same.
off. He sat there and told me that they was deciding canon at the Council of Nicaea. He said it over and over again. Then he reads it. He reads it.
Did that part, but then
No,
he
he didn't
claimed
concede
that
that.
you had.
Actually, I hear the
He said he
concession.
was
I
wrong.
hear it.
He said he was wrong.
No, okay, good.
He's
Okay,
not,
good.
He's not used to hearing people say that.
Right. He said I was wrong
you
about
got
that.
right.
He's still trying to argue over
And then
something
he said,
Now
I've
watch
already
this.
conceded.
Now watch this. Now
But it doesn't change
Byron.
the fact that y'all have decided what's canon over time.
No, see again. This is the problem. This is the problem with your reading. This is the problem with your reading. Prior to,
Brother, I'm gonna reread it.
No, wait. Let me ask you a question. After you read it, listen, read whatever you want. But I have a question I'm going to ask you after you read it.
Okay.
Can we do that?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It says the main purpose of the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD was to resolve the Arian controversy and establish the divinity of Jesus Christ within the church, which led to the Nicene Creed. A common misconception is that the council also established the biblical canon, but this was not the case. The formation of the canon was more organic process that happened over time, with the first council of Nicaea not even discussing the biblical books.
Now here's a question I have. If they were discussing the divinity of Jesus at the Council of Nicaea, and what were they using? Shut the fuck up and answer my question.
Establish the divinity of Christ.
Listen. I asked you. Listen, I told you if you read it, I got a question for you.
It didn't say discuss. It said establish.
Listen, you said that when you read it, I could ask you a question. You start talking. Listen to the question. If they are discussing and establishing the divinity of Jesus, what do you think they're using to argue their respective positions? What source material are they drawing from?
I don't know. I don't have that in front of me right now.
I don't know. Do you think that they're reading like billboards? Do you think that they're reading like a phone book? Are they reading the Bible? Are they reading the Bible? What do you think they're using?
Brother, this verse talks about establishing the divinity of Christ.
Okay. Y'all see I ain't saying nothing? Y'all see I ain't saying nothing? That's what I be talking about.
He doesn't know.
He didn't say that.
The thing was, I don't know.
I don't know where they drawn this establishment. I did say that.
Okay, cool. So watch this.
What I'm pointing out
is
what I'm pointing out is they established the divinity of Christ in the Council of Nicaea. So prior to this wasn't 100%. Jesus was not divine until they established it here.
Okay,
that's not.
Byron.
Oh, I'm not supposed to jump in.
No. Go ahead, because I want you to point out that you see the non sequitur there. Go ahead, point it out.
Need some help. Go ahead, get some help.
I don't need no help.
No, the question isn't like. I can see you saying that from that perspective, but to the perspective of a Christian, which I'm not, but I can obviously see it. They're going to say he was always divine, whether people believed it or not. So.
We'll see. Like I said, it's worse than that, because remember, I pointed out two things. I pointed out like Philippians 2. Philippians 2 is noted by scholars as an early Christian hymn. I pointed out Caesar Hadrian, when he sent spies among the Christian congregations, and the spy reported back what the Christians believed.
Brother,
and what was the Christian? I'm not. Oh my God!
Hold on, wait. I want to hear this. I never heard this story. Go ahead.
What they pointed out was that Jesus was worshipped as a deity Jesus is a deity to the early Christians. Philippians 2. And Philippians 2, what about Jesus is that he's divine. The gospel account, and like the statement that the gospel accounts come 70 to 100 years after the fact. I mean, he said the New Testament. The New Testament comes about 70 to 100 years after the fact. It's utter nonsense. The earliest book that we have in the New Testament is going to be 1 Corinthians. And that at best, at worst case scenario, is 20 years after the fact. But even prior to that, 1 Corinthians, go back to the first 1 to 3 years after the fact. Same thing with Philippians. Philippians would have came about in the first couple of years after the fact. One of the things that we know is the earliest teachings of the Christians is that Jesus was a divine figure. This was the whole cause for the charge of blasphemy in the Epistle of John. We know that the early Christians thought of Jesus this way. It's recorded in all of the Gospels. It's recorded in early hymns and early creedal statements about Jesus that we give in the first couple of years. So this wasn't invented at the Council of Nicaea. This was the earliest teaching that we have of Jesus, that he was a divine figure, that he was a deity. That's how he was worshipped. They prayed to him. Like I said, Latruo is ascribed to Jesus. Latruo is ascribed to Jesus, and that is the sort of worship that's reserved only for God. That happens in the book of the Revelation. There are prayers that are made to Jesus. Thomas calls Jesus my Lord and my God in the Gospel of John. These sorts of ideas come about way before the Council of Nicaea. We have early Christian writings where they talk about Jesus, as God and as a divine figure. With early apologies, we get this sort of thing. You get something called the Nomina Sacra. Nomina Sacra would be the way that they write the names of God. This sort of thing happens well before the Council of Nicaea, hundreds of years prior to the Council of Nicaea. And we can see this actually in writing. So whenever they go to write either the name of the Father, the name of the Son, the name of the Holy Spirit, and they write the names in a way that they would only write, especially at that point in time, the only way that they, when they would do that writing is if they're writing the name of God. And they handle Jesus' name the same exact way. So you can't explain early Christian churches, the growth of early Christian churches, the earliest sermons that we have, early creedal statements, early psalms and hymns to Jesus. You can't explain any of that kind of stuff when they're all calling him God and all calling him divine. You can't explain. You can't explain the statements, the I am statements of Jesus, where he's using specific statements that would have meant to his Hebrew readers and speakers and hearers, and the Aramaic readers and speakers and hearers, that he was calling himself divine. They were trying to stone him in blasphemy for calling himself divine. So this idea that came about in Council of Nicaea, that's nonsense. All of the data that we have, and historians are going to tell you that Jesus was clearly worshipped as a deity very early on by his earliest audiences. So trying to say the Council of Nicaea, that's nonsense. By the time that the Arians come on the scene, they're in one particular region of the empire, right? They're in one particular region, and then they spread to a particular region where the rest of the churches have a different belief. The controversy came about because they brought in a new teaching and a new idea about Jesus that they got together to debate. But it doesn't mean that the idea came about there, and it also doesn't mean that they came about with scriptures there. They were clearly there debating, and they were using the Bible to debate the issue of the divinity of Jesus and whether there was a time that he was not, or whether he was an eternal figure. The question from the Arian perspective was, did Jesus begin to exist at a certain point in time? That's the question. They did not have a disagreement on his divinity.
Are we done yet? Are we done? I mean, with
you let him change topics, and you don't want to own it.
No, I didn't. No, you keep going in, Leandre. So are we done with the Quran?
When you're telling me wrong, we can be done.
We already did this.
I tell him again. I missed it. I was walking.
You have an ego issue. It's so bad.
Okay, that's fine. Now you know what? That's fine. I don't need.
We don't agree with Jesse. Are y'all gonna debate?
No, it's only you saying it. I want the other bar. Where's the bars? Where are the other bars at? Because this is what I'm talking about. It's just you.
No, nobody's here. Everybody go. Tiffany. Everybody sleep.
Tiffany. Where's Tiffany?
She's a barbarian. I don't know what else to tell you.
I'm blocking everybody. I swear. Watch this.
What do I have to do with this? I've just been listening.
No. If you've been listening, you know what happened here, and I won't.
I'm like, everybody sleep. It's tomorrow for us, so half of them went to sleep. I think. If you're still here,
let me
say
see. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 people on the call.
Are there people here? I know A1 is.
Oh wait,
they are up. They are up. Wow.
Everybody's trying to be quiet. Yeah, that's me.
Stop being an intellectual bully.
No, and just intellectual terrorist.
Just embrace her, brother. You knew 2 hours ago what this was, Leandre.
Of course I
He
did,
just
but
want to
like
bully
to
everybody.
2 hours.
no, the bar.
I would like to
Listen,
thank Jesse for 2 hours because he's gone. But Jesse made me win my debate.
I want my money.
Because motherfucker said that he
all my bar bucks.
Nah, I want bar bucks because I bet that he would last longer than 45 minutes.
He didn't. Listen, you heard him change his position. He didn't last.
He still lasted. He lasted, Leandre.
No, he didn't last.
He
If he changed his
Leandre, why you want to keep beating up on this?
Leandre. What? I am so glad that I was playing
in a world where ideas collide and voices rise like giants. A new arena has opened. Welcome to Titans Debate League, where articulate warriors step forward, not with fists.
You got your bar bucks for this because you did. I mean, you beat them, but what I'm saying is
Here,
that I want
the
to.
community becomes the battleground. Open panels, real voices, the questions that keep you awake at
but
night,
he didn't agree.
the issues that shape our world. Everyone has a chance to rise, to be heard, to see if their information will reign supreme.
I don't know.
Will you watch from the sidelines, or will you step into the arena? Subscribe now at Titans Debate League.
That's over here lying and this shit. This is crazy. No, I know why he wants to. I enjoy it because it helps me learn. But
we the champions, trailblaze no missing. Speak facts, let the world stop and listen. Barbarian swing, every point hit the mark. Cut through the noise like flames in the dark. We the champions, ain't no retreat. Still sharp and steel, every word, every beat. On the mic or the stage, we control the game. Barbarian debate, yeah, they remember the name. Paint the battlefield vivid, every lyric's a stroke. Turn your whole team to ghosts when the truth is provoked. Bar for bar, I'm a titan, got the heavies in all. Lines heavy as Atlas, hold the world in my claws. I see life through the prism, talking dark in the light. From the dirt to the throne, every wrong made right. Barbarian minds, they got the truth in my veins. They talk heat, but they fire don't match my flame. Flip the map, global presence, I'm a legend in time. They clock out, I clock in, redefining the grind. Cutting lies like confetti, watch the fall of the sea. Barbarians hold the key, now they ain't safe in these streets. We the champions, trailblaze no missing. Speak facts, let the world stop and listen. Barbarian swing, every point hit the mark. Cut through the noise like flames in the dark.